Welcome everyone. Welcome to today's stream. Hope you had a nice day so far. There we go. Let's just enjoy the new map because it's so great. That's what we're gonna do a little bit for today. And then just the usual stuff, I guess. As always, if you have any questions, any feedback, any comments, let me know. Other than that, just enjoy the ride, I guess. And don't forget, we currently have Twitch drops going on. So you can get some nice rewards, some skins, some gliders. Even some blackline items can be gotten. So yeah, quite nice. Just watch a Guild Wars 2 streamer. Hopefully that's me. Welcome. Good morning everyone, at least to where I am, it's morning. Hope you had a nice day. And let me know if you enjoy the new patch. If you don't, I'm always open for discussion about that because I think it's really important to talk about that stuff. Because only then we can get the attention of the developers if it's like what they should improve on, what we need to know to actually continue playing the game and that kind of stuff. It's really important to talk about it because only then we can get some action going. Because if we just stay silent or make toxic comments, that's not gonna help anybody. That's the problem. Is there some debris anywhere? No. I'm still not completely sure how to get this achievement here, I have to be honest. I'm done with most of the achievements. I need one more so that I can get all the relics. That's very good. Of course, I could easily get them with the PvP reward track, but I want to get the achievements anyway, so I'm waiting for those. Ooh, that hurt. I think I don't get a res here, so... I think the problem that I have with this meta event is actually mostly because there is so much stuff on the ground that you can't really see most of the time. I mean, let me check if I have the correct settings. Yeah, exactly, I thought so. But even with the LOD turned on, I think oftentimes you can't see every single attack. That's really annoying. I really don't like this. It's a Titan problem, I think. They are really, especially the Greer ones, are really annoying. Yeah, I mean, I guess we are done almost, so that's good. But I lost track of the achievement, so I don't know. Maybe I did something wrong. By the way, if you don't know already, you currently have a buff. Where is it? Here. Summer Game Festival experience bonus. We get 100% increased experience from all sources. That's a lot of experience that you get here. So if you want to farm some spirit shards, want to level another character, that's the way to do it. Until 9th of June, we get a big buff. So be sure to, yeah, use that. And this map is actually quite good to farm experience, I would say, especially if you want to go for the legendary backpack as well. There are a lot of things that you can grind here at the same time. And the legendary backpack needs some grinding. Welcome, Charlatan. Welcome. Banger title. Yeah, I mean, it's an honest question. Do you think this is really the case? Do you think Living World Season 4 was better or worse than Janthir Wilds? Because that's how you have to compare it. The timescales are a little bit different, yes, I know. Living World Season 4 got released in 17 months, whereas Janthir Wilds, the whole patch and stuff after that got released in, like, let's say 12 months. but you can at least compare it. Welcome, Ashley. Welcome, welcome. I think personally it depends heavily on how you look at the situation, because back then I think that's the biggest difference is season 4 Living World was like, there was nothing that you paid for, you know, it was, you got it just by logging in, yeah, and that's for me the biggest difference here. But I mean, that's always, that's highly dependent on who you asked, if that's the main focus, you know. If the content is good, then some people would rather buy for it, you know, pay for it, yeah. So hard to say in my opinion. What's your opinion on that? Yeah, it's a hot topic for sure. I think there are some people that would definitely hate that if I would agree with this one. But I mean, yeah, it depends. Welcome, Filthy. Welcome. You made it. Hope you're doing well today. Hope you're all doing well. Enjoying the weekend. So let's find some events here. Nothing going on. It's so sad. So, Living World 3 and 4 were free at the time they were released, which was so good. Yeah, I think that's the thing that is for me the biggest difference. Yeah, that they were free. Even if the content, if you made the decision that the content itself is worse, or the amount of content is worse than Janthir Wilds, I think the biggest point is that we got it for free. I don't know if that's a sustainable thing for them to do for ANET. I can't tell them. That's what they have to tell me. But in my opinion, having it for free is such a big plus. It's really crazy how much difference that makes in terms of perception. There were some really bad releases in there. Don't get me wrong. Corner map is horrible. It's probably the worst map in the game still. You know, even Mistborn Barrens is better. I'm not joking. And what can I say? People still was, let's say, overall Living World Season 4 did actually enjoy it, because it's actually for the most part for free. Yeah, you know, it's completely for free in that sense. Yeah. That one cutscene Living World 4 where you get trapped by Choco when you confronted him. I don't know if anyone else remembered, but that cutscene was oddly high quality compared to the others. Actual animations in it and shit. Yeah, I think that the Choco arc, I think if they would have done that like a complete season, people would have been absolutely, you know, that would be amazing. Yeah. I think they did it a little bit short, but still, people still really liked those story episodes. And also, I would say most of the maps, except Corner, in Season 4 were actually somewhat liked. And yeah, what can I say? It feels like Season 4 was, of course, we are looking back now with a bit of nostalgia. I can get that. But I would still say it's at least the story part and the quantity was probably higher, even though it was for free back then. So, yeah. It's obviously objective, yeah. Subjective rather, sorry. Depends a bit who you asked. Some people would say Janthir Wilds gave us the spear, and that's really cool, having a spear with it. And of course, yeah, good point. The Sky Scale and the Roller Beetle, both of them came in Living World Season 4. That's obviously, I think that's the two most unique mounts that we got in the game to this day. So, yeah, good point. And we got them for free, you know, you had just to log in. It's crazy. So, yeah, I think Living World Season 4 is just a, yeah, it's people. Yeah, it's someone in my YouTube comments was really offended when I made this comparison. They said to me like, holy shit, that's such a stupid comparison. But I think it's not, personally. I think it's a comparison that you can make. It might not be absolutely fair to compare it. I get that. But I still think it's fair to compare different phases of the development of Guild Wars 2. I think that's completely fair to do that. And if you do so, I think the problem is that there are definitely issues that we, so to say, see in Janthir Wilds and in general with the, how's it called? With the cadence that we currently have with expansion, then 3 patches, then 3 months wait, and then we get, so to say, another expansion, year wait, and that's the rhythm that we have. And I think there are some issues with that, because back then we had a rather similar cadence, even shorter frequency, and we still got crazy cool content with the mounts and stuff. So yeah, I don't know, hard to say. But I mean, let me know your take. I mean, maybe I have something that, maybe you have some ideas that are completely, I don't know, different from mine, and maybe you can convince me that I'm wrong there. But I feel like it's fair to compare those two things and talk about it, because I feel like the last few patches were just not as big as I wanted them to be. And if I personally would say to someone that I feel like they had better times back then I can make the argument that now, even though they have the same amount of developers, where is the development time going? That's my point here. That's the whole point I'm making. So I'm not sure if I can get all of those. I really am just randomly pressing the Mirsad mirrors. They're down anyway, okay. Yeah, like I said, don't miss out on the experience buff. It's actually really huge. 100% experience gain from all game, or from all sources. That's really, really good. So if you want to farm spirit shards and stuff, it's amazing. It's really, really good. So maybe you can do some strike mission? No. I guess then let's play some PvP after this event is over. I don't want to wait the whole day for this map. You need a lot of stuff for the legendary backpack, so I will really go slowly on that one, because it's so expensive to craft right now. So if you want to get that, it's really expensive. I mean, I already have a legendary backpack, so I don't care, but I want to get the skin. I think the skin is interesting. Filthy hates it, I know. But I want to get the skin, and to be honest, at some point I will go for it, and it's really expensive right now to get, so I will just wait, I guess. Thanks, Memphis, for the follow. Really appreciate it. Let me know if I have any feedback, if the sound is good, if you have any other comments, questions about Guild Wars, the stream, let me know. I mean, it's pretty clear the game has a skeleton crew right now, as most of the devs are working in Guild Wars 3, so I get why there's less content. Still not happy about it. So Winslow, that's a really good point. And that's, to be honest, I can't confirm or let's say deny it completely. We don't know if they're working on Guild Wars 3 personally. Yeah, there is no real evidence in that sense. But if they are working on Guild Wars 3, I'm completely fine with it. I'm saying having less content for getting a better game in the future, or new game, I'm completely fine with that. But they should tell us. You know, I'm personally of the opinion that giving us bad content patches will lose you more players than just telling us that Guild Wars 2 is in a maintenance mode. I'm really honest about it. Yeah. But I feel like not telling us and delivering less on, let's say, worse content, that's the problem to me. You know, that's the take. Welcome, Rom Expert, welcome. Yeah, exactly. If they are even working on that, we don't know. You know, at this point, they could work on something entirely different. Like, they could even work for NCSoft. We don't know anything. Maybe they work for NCSoft on a completely different game, and they never publish it in their own right, so to say. It's crazy. We don't know. If they would work on Guild Wars 3 and announce it, would be, in my opinion, the best way, because then people would play the game if they have fun, and would be happy even if there are less content releases, because they know most of the studios actually working on Guild Wars 3. That's my take. Yeah, maybe they make a mobile game, yeah. Welcome, Frederick, welcome. If someone would offer you real money for your account, for how much would you be willing to sell it? Oh, that's an interesting question. So, just for fun, Frederick, yeah, just for fun, I calculated the amount of money that I need to spend on my account. Real money, if I needed to swipe to get the account value, yeah. It's obviously completely skewed, this amount of things, yeah. But you get 100 gold for 320 gems. My account, we can do the calculation. Let me check. Wait 1 second. So you see you see it now. So we can do the calculation. My account is worth 1 million, roughly a little bit more, 1 million gold. That's my account value. So that means I need to get, if I wanted to buy this with gems, the account value, just it's obviously completely screwed, but let me go with that. We need to go divide that by 100. And then we get like this times the amount of gems that we get. So we need 3.2 million gems. We get 8k gems for 100 euro or dollar. That's how it is, I think. So that means we have to divide this by 8k. And then times 100. And so my account would be worth $40,000 or euro if you would swipe for that. That's the minimum that I want to get for that. Of course, I would not sell my account. If someone would really give me that amount of money, I think that it's not possible that anyone would give me that amount of money. If that would be the case, I had to think about it because obviously that's a lot of money. But I personally think no one would be crazy enough to do that. So I personally think, yes, if that would be in this range, I would probably sell it, to be honest, because I can easily rebuild some of it at least. And I'm a content creator. I'm playing the game for fun and for content, not for the achievements in the game for the most part. But it's crazy, yeah. Sell it and start over. Yeah, exactly. That's that. And then I would just stream it all the time, and then people would be happy about my Zero to Hero journey, I guess. Yeah, but I'm obviously that's a little bit of a joking, because that's not, no one would pay me that much of money. Yeah. Yeah. So keep that in mind. But of course, take it all with a grain of salt, because like if you think about how much money someone would pay for an account, it's probably not going over that much, let's say over hundreds of 1,000 maybe, if someone is really crazy, even if you have crazy achievements on there, just because it's who really wants to have that much gold, who needs that, I don't know. I think it makes more sense if they kept silent, saying Guild Wars 2 is on maintenance mode, kills current revenue. I think, Winslow, you're right there. However, the problem is if you continue delivering, so to say, bad expansions and bad updates, people will quit anyways. And that's the important part. If you make it smart, in my opinion, and announce Guild Wars 3 and say there will be something like the Hall of Monuments, with the achievements here. Where is it? Those God walking amongst mere mortals and stuff, if you have this one, those achievements, if you make something like this for Guild Wars 2 in Guild Wars 3 and say you can convert some stuff and some really, let's say, hard stuff that you really have to grind and really have to play the game for quite a while and make like just 10 titles or stuff. Maybe that's actually interesting, to players just keep playing the game if that's in the game, even if there's no real crazy updates anymore. Guild Wars 3 will not be an MMO. They would cannibalize Guild Wars 2 by that. It doesn't make sense at all. Yeah, it could be. I'm not telling you anything that I know. I don't know anything about that. I'm saying there could be an RPG. It could be anything at this point. It doesn't have to be an MMO. I'm completely with you there. Yeah. It could also be just a relaunch of Guild Wars 2 at this point. Guild Wars 2.5 could be. We don't know. The question is, how much did they spend without the expansion? What do you mean, Normal Expert? I'm not completely sure if I understand the question correctly here. How much did you spend without the expansions? I mean, you mean not buy? I did not buy a gold with my account, so I converted always gold to gems, and I did never buy, so to say, gems for gold. Rather, I did not get gems with real money to buy gold. That's not how I do it. Yeah, I don't do that. I was, so to say, making money from the TP mostly. That's where I got most of my money. So that's why my account value is so high. I did not grind the credit card. Exactly. I converted every single gem that I spent with gold. That's how I do it. Oh my god, what is our team comp? Oh my god, that's insane. Let's see. Set up the settings. But with the new ad for the game for Summer Games Festival does not give me hope for Guild Wars 2's future. I mean, Winslow, I think it's not a new ad. I think, as far as I know, it's cut out of a trailer that they released like 6 months ago for Epic Game Store or something like that. It's a 2-minute trailer that they made back then, and they cut it out for 30 seconds for the Games Fest. I think that's how it is. They never made a new trailer for that. I think the new trailer, you can debate if it's good or not, but I mean, they didn't put a lot of effort in. That's a fact. Yeah. Oh my god, is it really that much money? That's a lot. That's you can see the marketing back in action, the bad marketing, yeah. Yeah. I mean, what can you do? You know, if the marketing doesn't want to learn, they don't want to learn, you know, that's why they spend that much money on stuff that might not even be that smart. I mean, it had a lot of viewers, so there's that, but I'm not sure if people really want to play a 12-year-old, 13-year-old game that doesn't have the brightest future, I would say, in terms of new content and stuff. I don't know. At least that's not something that you can see in the trailer. There's that. Because if you start the game from scratch right now, you have a lot of stuff to do. That's definitely true. Nice, we can get this thief here to be a little bit. Whoa, that was an interesting knockback, I have to be honest. Oh, the whole team is dead. That's what we like, I guess. Leave them a bit. Interesting. There's the thief. Oh, there are two thieves, okay. Yeah, that's why they are losing. That's the thing why they are losing. They have two thieves and they are losing against our holosmith. Yeah, interesting. Marketing intern got the assignment last minute for sure. Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, I have to make a trailer for tomorrow. Oh my god. Let's cut it out of the last trailer that we released. Yeah, something like that. I can see that. I can see that be the case. This is that's a sad match, I have to be honest. Not too much happening here. Unless the head of marketing saw this and approved spending 250k for this, which is, I'm afraid, even worse. I agree. It sounds horrible if you say it like that. True. Yeah, I mean, the thieves completely threw this match, I have to be honest. They're probably also even duo queuing, I'm not joking. Two thieves is like... I feel like the negativity about the game lacks perspective. It's the best game I've ever played. I've started 6 months ago. This game continues to bring in new players all the time. Yes, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. I don't mention that enough on stream. But for new player, the game is amazing. It really is. It's so good. But we are talking here for the veterans, and for the veterans, that's the problem. For the veterans, the game looks like they are not really caring too much about them anymore. And that's never a point where you want to be. You know, why would you want to be in a game where the veterans are not interesting enough? Oh, the CC was the CC actually was like that was killing me. At least I died instantly. Very good. Yeah, so for a veteran, the game has not that bright of a future. For a new player, the game is amazing. I'm not joking, you know. I have over 10k hours. You know, starting the game right now, you can still play the game and say, I will have content for over 10k hours. That's amazing, you know. And the combat, it's still fun, you know. That's why I play the game. The game is amazing. I will still play it for the next 3 years, for sure. Because it has amazing combat, you know. That's why I play the game. But... yeah, what can I say? It's not for everyone. If you're looking for like updated rates every single 3 months or something, that's not gonna happen. So that's why I'm, so to say, there are people criticizing the game for stuff like that. That's the difference, yeah, for sure. New players come in, get excited by $50 worth of expansion developed 5 to 10 years ago, fully monetized. Yeah, definitely. That's a good thing, for sure. These poison soul beasts are so annoying, I have to be honest. Thoughts on Herald? I mean, Herald is good. Herald is good. I mean, I would say in PvP and World vs. World, It's nerfed, but still decent. And in PvE, it's actually a very good pick for starting out the game, especially. This match is interesting. It's completely, I can completely zone off and we will still win the match. That's actually insane. Honestly, they don't even need to work on Guild Wars 3 if they do a slight graphics rework. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. If they would do a graphics rework in like a new engine or something, then they could easily transfer the game to just leaving it like it is. Yeah, I totally agree. Nice, we got him. Nice, 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 nice. Come on. The problem is that it's the hardcore game at this point. Really? I think the game is not a hardcore game. I think it's actually the completely opposite. I think the game is actually not hardcore at all. And the problem is, if you don't have any hardcore players, the game will always be like, there's only casual things. And that means that a lot of the stuff is actually, I don't know, completely irrelevant. You know, raids, even fractal CMs and that kind of stuff, no one plays it anymore. If I'm looking for people that want to get raid training or just fractal CM training, I don't find anyone, you know. I would teach them, but no one is there that actually wants that, you know. That's the insane part to me. There is actually no one that actually wants to listen and get the training going, because most of the people just enjoy the open world, which is fine, don't get me wrong. I'm just surprised that the game is like, half of the game is not played anymore. It's really sad. Yeah, remastered would be really cool. I would agree. A lot of people would like it, because then they wouldn't lose, so to say, their whole value of Guild Wars 2 time that they spent, yeah? And the stuff that we, so to say, invested in, sport money, even maybe some people. So there would be, a lot of people would actually enjoy that for sure. Yeah. If you could only choose between Necro or Revenant to play for all game modes, what would you pick? Because my old Freight thinks of coming back. I personally would pick Necromancer, because I enjoy the class fantasy more, and I think it's actually more flexible in terms of elite specs. But personally, I would also say, from a design perspective, I really like Revenant. I played Revenant a lot, but I would, for a new player, I would recommend Necromancer. Necromancer is easy to get into, has decently high potential, what you can do. Scourge is crazy good in terms of support. Reaper is good in DPS. Harbinger is really good for competitive mode. So overall, yeah, it's a really good, it has a lot of potential. So I would go for Necromancer personally. What? It is hardcore. I can't get to the floating lines on the expansions, all the masteries, the maps, points. It's just because you don't have your gear doesn't mean it's easy. I mean, the thing is, what I would say, the game is not hardcore. It's just, it has some kind of vertical progression with the, what you need here is the ley line gliding. So you just have to farm the open world for that. It's not like absolutely crazy. Is there some markers for those already here? No. That's at least my take, yeah. You can sink in 1 year and don't have a legendary weapon. This is easy. I mean, the legendary, that's the thing is, the game doesn't, that's what I would say. Guild Wars 2 is not hardcore at all, but it is very grindy. That's the difference. You can make a game that is very easy to get into, because there is nothing that kills you in the open world for the most part, except maybe some champions that run around. And you can still have a very grindy way to get the legendaries, the masters, and that kind of stuff. You know, that's the difference here, I would say. Living Worlds Season 4 bigger than any expansion. I mean, I guess that's a fair take. I personally think the Living Worlds Season 4 had some issues as well. Don't get me wrong. I think if I look back at what was their corner map is like horrible in my opinion. It's probably the worst map they ever released. There's nothing on there. So I think there are arguments to make this that it's not that good. Yeah, but I agree. Yeah, I think Revenant is really cool. I like Revenant from a thematic design, from how the legends play out, how much, so to say, it's fun to play. I think it's really, really cool. I like it a lot. But, and you have a point here, the balancing, especially in PvE right now, feels like it's a little bit off. Yeah, but we get Vindicator with the next patch, so as a healer, that will be cool, really cool. I will play that for sure. But like I said, for a new player, I think Necromancer is better choice. You get free legendary weapon from Wizard's Vault, and you don't even need legendary at all. Ascended does have the same stats as legendary, and basically you can already do a crazy amount of DPS just with exotic gear. Yeah, and the cool part is, and that's really, I really don't want to, I can't stress that enough, you even can get a free legendary trinket by just completing a few achievements. So that's the cool part. Do you craft legendary one at a time or save for a batch craft? I have a video on YouTube where I crafted 13 or something legendaries at a time. Typically I craft them whenever I have them. Yeah, Kek W, indeed. Yeah. Yeah, the game is grindy, but it's not hardcore. That's a difference. That's a big difference. Yeah. So, oh my god, I'm almost there. I need one more. There's the last one. Really, you think that's the best story in all games? Interest? You mean in overall? You have the Living World Season 4 at the best story? I think I would agree with this one. But I'm personally not a story enjoyer anyway, so I can't really... Don't take my opinion as the absolute truth. Always, but especially when it comes to story. When playing this game on and off for 3 years to get my scale, consider that hardcore? I mean, it's fair. You know, everyone has their own opinion. I'm just saying I don't think typically that's what you would consider hardcore. It's more about... It's grindy, yes, but hardcore means something different. Hardcore means that you will fail and die all the time because you can't succeed. That's where I would say that's more the case. Does this mean Revenant is the only class that has access to support boons on all 3 specs? Can't be the only one. Good question. Let me think about it. I think so. I actually think it's the case, yeah. Yeah, I think that's the case, yeah. That's very interesting indeed, yeah. Which doesn't mean that it's absolutely broken, because you can see that Renegade is still a weird pick. Only in Fractals it works really good. In other things it works not that well. I got my first legendary 2 months ago, and I have been playing since the game started. I did take huge breaks from it time to time. Yeah, I mean that's completely fair. I'm just saying the game is grindy, but it's not hardcore. There are hardcore things in there, you know. Don't get me wrong. For example, if you want to go for the legendary challenge modes of bosses and stuff, that can be hardcore, or going for a monthly AT win, that can be hardcore. Yes, of course. But going for legendary is just time commitment and patience, you know. I could get the legendary in this game after playing like for a month on a fresh account. You know, I just need to spend some time and I will get there. Probably not even. But keep that in mind. That's just time commitment and patience. That's the difference. It's grindy, but that's the only difference here. Come on, one more. You can get basically full endgame gear within a few weeks playing, thanks to the Wizard's Vault, and you get trinkets everywhere. Exactly. Especially if you have all the expansions, it's actually insane how fast you can get those. Yeah. Yeah. That YouTube title was the most clicked title ever. I've come to Twitch to tell you this. You won. Congratulations. I mean, is it clickbaity? Because that's the debate that we're currently having. You know, that is Guild Wars 2, is Janthir Wilds, the new patch, is it better than what we got before for free? That's the debate that we have. It's like, yes, it might be clickbaity, I agree, but if that's the thing, the topic that we currently discuss and people are concerned about, I think it's completely fair to ask this question. Yeah. Do you do anything special to improve at PvP? Watch replays, set yourself goals for the season? So currently I just play PvP to have fun and stuff. Oh my god, I found it. No, I have it already. No. Yeah, so I play for fun and I want to improve. So if I die in a match, I think about why did I die? Maybe watch even my replay on stream or something like that. Watch maybe. But most of the time I just want to improve at it and don't care about rating. And just play for fun. And play for the classes that I enjoy playing. Not always the meta classes. And in the end, that will actually lead to getting better at the game. But of course, if you watch someone that is really good at the game, it also helps. So if you have some crazy good streamer player playing, and you watch them, it's actually helping to improve as well. And ask questions always. Yeah. You can make Guild Wars 2 as hardcore as you want, but it can also be incredible casual. That's the beauty about it. It scales with your motivation. Exactly. Good, very nice wording. I like it. Yeah. It's in my opinion, that might be a hot take, but in my opinion, Guild Wars 2 is a sandbox game. As soon as you reach level 80, you could quit the game because you're already, so to say, done, or you could make it completely crazy and grind like 10k hours in there. It's like you can do everything in there. You just need to, I don't know, try out different things. And there's so much different stuff to do in the game. It's crazy. And I personally think you can go for full legendary and it's absolutely grindy. You can go for full, so to say, monthly AT, all 12 gizmos or something like that. And you have crazy amount of stuff to go for and you have to improve at the game and can go really hardcore. But most of the time, it's actually easier to go for casual content for a new player, and then you will, maybe some people just play casual then, or some people play really try hard. It depends on you, and that's the cool part. That's why I would say it's sandbox. Best considered update versus worst considered update? Terribly hard choice. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I made this comment exactly like you put it now. I made this in one of my YouTube videos. I think the video from yesterday, actually. Yeah. And the interesting part is, someone in the comments said this is absolutely such a bad comparison. It's not even funny. And it's like so untrue in their opinion. It's actually, I was surprised that someone would say it's like absolutely incorrect objectively in their eyes that I'm comparing those two, and that it's not, that Janthir Wilds is not better. It's insane. But, I mean, apparently people have different opinions, you know? Maybe it was an ANET partner. The interesting part is, as a partner for ANET, you don't have to be like white knighting the game all the time, you know? Teapot is a partner and he's always like, not flaming, but he's always criticizing the game for the mistakes they do, you know? So you have, if you're honest and if you don't, I'm not toxic, then it's actually completely fine. But yeah, what can I say? Someone might white knight the game because they love it, and I love the game and I want to improve the game. That's the difference here. But yeah. But the interesting part is Guild Wars 2 might be grindy for some people, but other people, you know, I play the game just for fun at this point, and I don't care about gold anymore. So for me, it's not grindy at all. I just play the game for fun and get something done, and it will work, you know. So it depends all on the mindset that you have. That's the important part. Yeah. Nice, we did it. So let's go for some strike missions, I guess. It's so sad. I just needed one more thing for the achievement. So sad. What can you do? But I mean, it's obviously, talking about Living World Season 4 is always a little bit skewed, because back then, I'm not sure if it was a consistent and very healthy schedule for them. So if you talk about Living World Season 4 as the ultimate updating schedule and stuff, then maybe they could not have held it for 2 more years or something, you know? And now this updating schedule that they have now with 1 expansion and 3 patches after that and then another expansion, this is like way more healthy for them apparently to balance. Even though the updates are so small, it's actually not good. Yeah, I don't know. I still think Iceblood Saga had the best story despite the shitty ending. Yeah, I think the beginning of Iceblood Saga was amazing. I think the ending brings it down for me though. That's the difference. That's the difference. Living World Season 4 gave us the best story of the game so far. A much better story, 2 mounts, and that actually completely changed the way you move. A legendary assassinry, volatile magic trophy shipments, being 5, 6, 7, much better fractals, some of the best maps for farming currency. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the point, that the amount of content was very high and the quality was also very high, and we got it for free. We got it for free. That's in my opinion, the difference here. The only thing that I missed, so to say, in comparison to Janthir Wilds is that we didn't get some combat change. Yeah, we got mounts, yes, but we did not get elite specs. We did not get a new weapon. That's what we got. You know, we got the new. It's really like you pay for Janthir Wilds because of the new combat, for the weapon, for the spear. You don't pay for the story and the maps and stuff. That's something that we expected to get for free, because that's what Living World was. We got new map, new content, that kind of stuff. It's just the combat features that you pay for. That's really like the price tag is on the combat features. That's my take there, yeah. I think the problem with Icebrood Saga for me personally is that the Icebrood Saga, those are like horrible. You know, what is in there? There is no mastery in there that is actually like, oh, I'm happy to get this now, you know? Or they are completely bad. I think I agree that the points are harder to get there, but I think I don't like the masteries. In general, I think most of the masteries are shit. The only good ones are in Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire, and some of them in Court Hero. Like the Pack Commander one is obviously really good, but Heart of Thorns was like gliding, you know. Even the lore, Itzel and Nuak and stuff, that was interesting. And of course the Mount masteries, those were really cool masteries. And after that it fall off, you know, especially Soto and Janthir Wilds masteries are horrible. It's really like, it's so bad. I think the Janthir Wilds masteries are by far the worst ones. I would say this is like, they are so bad because I didn't even notice the difference for the most of them, you know? It's like just randomly giving me more loot or randomly giving me some upgrades for my homestead, but that's it, you know? There is nothing in there that is really mattering. Maybe the mount ones, because it actually gets some interesting double jumping capabilities and stuff, but that's about it, you know? It's crazy. I think the masteries are really, this is the part where I would say, at this point, just don't do any masteries, you know? Why would you do masteries if they are so bad and don't change anything about the game? I'm not joking here. I think I would have been also happy with not having any masteries in terms of just this, yeah. It's also the first expansion. I did 100%, didn't care to get the points. I mean, the thing is that I would say Janthir Wilds for me was like, there was not that much stuff to do. So I have, for example, those masteries. I have all of those on the map done, and I want to do that for Barvanivos as well. So yes, I would agree. Those you don't really care to get the mastery points because you have so many just passively. You know, I have 21 lying around and I fully maxed my mastery thing. But that's insane, you know. I think back then it was really cool that you had like only a handful of mastery points left over after you did max the masteries. I think that was a cool feeling because that was limiting you to some extent. I think that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, masteries in general, I think they don't have any ideas anymore. That's the problem. They're just running out of ideas. Yeah, that's my take on that. The Warclaw one is cool, I guess, but when are you really using the Warclaw over the Sky Skull? Unless you have to offer fun. And guess where the Sky Skull comes from? Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have to think about it like that. The Sky Skull was so good that they even just reintroduced it with Soto, you know? That's how good it was. They said, holy shit, we didn't mark it on the Sky Skull. We didn't make people pay for it. So let's make a new expansion that is focused around the Sky Skull. That's how crazy it is. That's why I think they might even go for the Roller Beetle next. So in expansion 6, maybe we get a reworked Roller Beetle in that sense, or an upgrade to it, so that you have to pay for the new expansion to get the Roller Beetle one. Yeah. I guess that could be the case. I mean, the thing is, what I would say is like, you should always play the game as you want it, Roamingspurt. So if you don't like grinding the masteries right now, that's completely fair. But I would say now it feels even easier to do not to stop grinding masteries because they are completely, you know, you don't get anything, you know. Back then in Heart of Thorns, when you were not going for the masteries, it's like, yes, you could do that, but you would be like half of the map would not be able to explored by you. You know, you didn't have Playline gliding, you didn't have the poison lore or something like that. That's really like, that changed how you played the game. But now homesteading mastery is like, yes, if you engage with homesteading, you get it. If you play the open world stuff, yes, you will probably go for all the others as well. But do they change the gameplay? Are you interested in anything that comes out of it? No, not at all. It's like, who cares, you know? It's like an adrenal mushroom just in Bavanivos. That's about it. It's crazy. I play on EU. Yes. It'd be cool if you could use those extra mastery points for permanent stat bonuses on specific maps. That's interesting. I think at some point they should do something like that, because I feel like there is so much stuff in the game that you can do, but it's not required for anything in terms of stats or vertical progression in that sense. And if the game is, so to say, like going in maintenance mode, it would at least bring some kind of replayability to older maps if people would grind them for the achievements for the mastery points, you know? Because now the mastery points are like, yeah, I have a lot of them lying around. Do I care? No, they are completely useless, you know? Having almost all, I think I have one Heart of Thorns one missing. Is that giving me anything? No, it's just for completionist's sake. So it would be interesting if it would just be giving me some crazy amount of small convertant. You know, I would even be fine if it would just be one of those 4 stats, you know, just giving me one more gold find for 1 mastery point, you know. Some people would grind for that. Of course, it would be better if it would be more impactful. Or even only on those Heart of Thorns map, for example, giving me like 50 gold find or 50 magic find and 50 experience gain on those maps where I have all those mastery points lying around. I guess, yeah, that would be cool. But will that happen? No, not at all. I don't see that happening, to be honest. ArenaNet is really like, they don't want to give us more stats, more stuff. It's more like they want you to play the game as you like it, and there will never be stat increases in that regard, I would say. They're really like close to the chest in that regard. But what can I say? I mean, back then, Living World Season 4 was amazing, especially when they released the new maps. It was like, you farmed the maps for the mastery points, but most of the time you farmed it for getting more, how is it called? Better loot, getting more gold and stuff. So back then it was like the maps when they released, you know, I remember Domain of Istan releasing, it was like everyone was there to farm and for gold and stuff. It was like really crazy. You had the Living World Season 4 trains where you go over every single Living World map that was there. It was crazy. It was really, really good back then. But in my opinion, that's not gonna happen anymore, sadly. And you can see people playing the new maps like they did back then with Domain of Istan for like one week, but then it's done. You know, you have the masteries, you have everything. So I think Janthir Wilds was in that sense a bad version of the Living World with giving us one new weapon, the spear, for every class. That's how it feels. Because you will play the new map for the Legendary Backpack and stuff, but if you don't care about it, you will explore and maybe do that once, and then you will never go back there. It's really not, there is nothing to farm about the new map, I would say. And the longevity is low. I don't like that, you know? So maybe they give us, I don't know. It feels really bad to find something that is actually, that brings us back other than the Legendary Backpack. Maybe some skins, that's cool as well. I don't know. It's really hard to say what they can make the new expansion be better in terms of, for example, how can you not repeat the mistakes they did with Soto and Janthir Wilds in the next expansion? I'm not sure if they can do that, because at this point it feels like they are really set in stone what they want to do with the achievements and the masteries and how they progress with it. So I hope they learn from it, but I also hope that after Soto and the Janthir Wilds is like exactly, you know, it's like a clone of Soto in that sense. Because it's like the beginning was actually quite strong, and then it instantly fell off. You know, the patches following after the first release of Janthir Wilds was like, yeah, they are not as good anymore. That's the truth, sadly. But, you know, maybe I'm still someone that is optimistic, carefully optimistic. Maybe we get better expansion 6 than we get expansion 5, maybe, you know. At least I can dream. It's maybe they fixed the issues. But at this point, I actually doubt it. At this point, I'm doubting it. But like I said, for a new player, the game is still amazing. You know, you have 3 full-fledged, crazy good expansions like Heart of Fire, Heart of Thorns, and End of Dragons, and then you have the living worlds in between and stuff. So there is a lot of stuff to explore and a lot of stuff to grind, and it's really fun. So as a new player, don't be like influenced by us as the veterans. There is so much stuff to explore, really. But the thing is, if you reach the point that you go over like 5k hours and you already played every single map and stuff and have everything done that you wanted to get, the legendaries and stuff, then you will slowly get to a point where I would say, yes, there is not enough new content. And that's the thing. That's why I'm talking, where I'm coming from. Yeah, I'm always trying to be, you know, not always being the negative guy. You know, I want to be a positive guy in that sense. I want to talk about stuff in an objective way without making, so to say, biased takes just because I'm a veteran that plays through all content. You know, I can give you my opinion on that, but I would say for a new player, you know, to reach the point here, you have thousands of hours to play, and that's really important. They're offering Heart of Thorns, Path of Fire for £11 at the moment. I'd say it's a bargain for people who wish to try expansion content and some elite specs. Yeah, I think it's actually definitely go for it. I think it's, if you have the money, it's amazing how much content you get for that, and replayability as well. It's crazy good. Yeah. With Guild Wars in its current state, would you recommend getting Soto before expansion 6? Missing relics and mystic coin trades feels bad. I think if I would have the choice, if you don't have Janthir Wilds or Soto, for example, I don't know how your state is here, but I would say Soto is actually more worthwhile getting, because Soto has crazy good relics and Soto gives you the weapon master proficiency. So I can use my dagger on my Chronomancer, for example. This is amazing, you know, and as for example, the rival on Chronomancer, I think the spears are good and all, but I think they are not as broken as the Soto stuff. So I think Soto overall is better. Also, if you want to go for legendary open world armor, that's Soto as well. So I think for the features, I would go for Soto personally. If you have the money, go for it. But I think if you're looking for crazy good content and story, then it's not for you. Yeah, I would say, personally, I would say go for the 2 expansions if they are that cheap. Personally, I would say that's such a big gain for the amount of money that you spend there. It's crazy good in my opinion. But like I said, it's always dependent on the situation that you are in. So if you don't have enough money to spend, then yeah, then I can understand it, and maybe you have to wait. But it's Guild Wars 2, you don't have a subscription fee. Spending on those expansions is actually really the only money that you need to spend to actually get to the game parts that are really, really good. So I am always recommending that. Yeah, exactly. You know, the game feels endless. There's so much stuff to do, so much stuff to grind, so much just fun to have. But you need to enjoy the game and you need to actually have fun with the game, how it actually is. You know, you have to accept it for what it is. That's the important part here. But if you do that, there's almost unlimited content. I agree. Yeah, glad you enjoy my content, Panto. Really appreciate it. Only thing about Soto was the Weapon Master and Legendary. I think the story and the maps are horrible. I would say personally, I would never buy Soto for the story or the maps. I personally would say you buy it for the features. But I would personally also, that might be a hot take, but that's also the case for Janthir Wilds. I would buy Janthir Wilds for the spear. I would never recommend it to a new player to buy Janthir Wilds before any of the crazy good expansions like Path of Fire, Heart of Thorns, and that kind of those expansions. I would never recommend buying Janthir Wilds before that. Really, never. It's Janthir Wilds and Soto are definitely the last expansions I would buy. Whereas Soto I would only buy for the features. You know, the features of Soto are insane. That's why you would buy it for sure. Do you think many people would quit Guild Wars 2 if they would introduce a monthly subscription? Yeah, I think probably all of them would quit. I think Guild Wars 2 is like people play Guild Wars 2 for not having to pay a subscription. Yeah, I'm not joking there. I think that's why people play it. As soon as you would introduce it, people would quit. And especially, you know, the thing is, people would only not quit if you get crazy amounts of more content because of that. But because you have to deliver, if you make a subscription fee, you have to deliver. You know, you have to deliver with a lot of more content. And that's not the case. You know, they don't provide more content, not at all. If they would get more money, I think they would just spend it passively in the background on the other unannounced project that they're currently working on. So that's what I would say here. I use Blishot. Yes, that's Blishot that you're seeing here, the mouse. Yes, mouse cursor. The Weapon Master training was so good, and at least we have Rifts as repeatable content. What do you want to redo in Janthir Wilds? Exactly. I think Janthir Wilds really lacks the replayability. Soto had amazing replayability, the convergences, the rift farming, the open world legendary armor and stuff. In Soto, you know, you get the legendary spear, which you don't need because you have already the core game spear. And then, let's do the trick. Easy trick. If you don't get the pop-up, just go to the spirit chart thing and open it, and you actually, for whatever reason, you actually get the pop-up again. So, what was I saying? The Soto is, in my opinion, way more replayability. There is the legendary backpack, you actually also don't even need it. That's the crazy part. So there is nothing in Janthir Wilds that actually is like, you need the replayability for that one. Yeah, they are both, I would say, definitely, you know, I would totally agree. They are both worse expansions than the 3 original ones, like 100%. 100%. I did not even close. Yeah. Yeah, this one is the Blishot one. Yes. Rifts are fine. I just wish you could get more money from them. Solo farming Rifts is pretty chill. I mean, I would say it would be... I personally would really like to have some kind of solo gold farm that is actually worth doing. But the problem is, I feel like they really don't care that much about solo players. You know, they want to have open world events that are just... People are crushing stuff together in a 50-person squad without any crazy organization. That's how they want the game to be played. I think solo players are not often the people that they are actually caring about. Sadly, I would love that. But I really hope that with the next game that comes out, there is some procedurally generated content for solo players. That's my big hope. But I bring it up every time, so I will now not talk more about it if you don't mind. Yeah. That was the great thing about Soto. You can even farm rifts on every map and not only on Soto maps for the legendary. Yeah, exactly. It brought you back to the old maps, you know, with those rifts that you get from Soto. Where is it? Weekly rift hunting here. You go back to Chahai Bluffs. New Kaineng, Skywatch is always there. Mount Maelstrom. You know, that's really cool. You get crazy amounts of replayability even in older maps. That's a cool thing for sure. I think in this regard, the feature-wise, I think Soto is actually a good expansion. I just think the maps and the story and also the general amount or the quality of for example, look at the strike missions. I'm happy that we got strike missions with Soto, yeah? But the strike missions themselves, I personally think are the worst strike missions in the game. The normal modes. They are really, really bad. So, yeah. Welcome, Haudo. Welcome. I'm doing good. Hope you're doing fine as well. Yeah, it's definitely... Go for the original expansions like Heart of Thorns, Path of Fire, and you have way more content to do, way more cool stuff to do, and it's also way better in terms because you get the elite specs and you have a lot of crazy cool stuff to do in that regard. No, I missed my Moa. Okay, it's fine. Yeah, so I personally would say it's really like Janthir Wilds and Soto are definitely like at least one step down in terms of quality if you compare it to the original expansions. And even to some extent, as we mentioned earlier, even to some extent, how's it called? Living World seasons. You know, that's the crazy part. Yeah, it feels like a battle pass system for the Living World that we need to pay for. That's it. We got the only thing that is different from the Living World is that we get the spear or get the features for combat. That's the difference here. That's really the big difference. 25 euro and we get the shitty story. I mean, it's fine. Oh my god, I shouldn't read chat when I do Bone Skinner, I guess. I thought I actually dodged in time. No, I'm dead now. Yeah, never read chat while doing Bone Skinner. Good tip for you there. Compared to other games where you pay $40 or even $60 for an expansion. Yeah, I mean, it depends a bit. I think it's totally fine, yeah. I think it depends how much money you want to spend and how much you actually get for it. But I personally think 25 euro for the spears might be a little bit much, to be honest. Might be, yeah. When there is shit like the newest Life is Strange costing 80 euro, $80 for like 10 hours of gameplay. Yeah, I mean, then you're not complaining. I mean, Guild Wars 2 in general, even if you look at Janthir Wilds, you get hours, hundreds of hours personally if you grind the legendaries for the $25. Yeah, but for a player that only bought the expansion for the spears, you might not get that much out of it. And the content, if you compare to the original game or the original expansions, it feels like you get cheated. That's the difference here. But if you compare to the other parts of the market, then of course you might not feel that way. That's the correct thing to do, I would say. Yeah. They better rework some of the 2012 weapons. Yeah. Warrior Greatsword is like on top of the rework list. I would definitely agree with that one. For sure. Honestly, my favorite thing from Janthir Wilds has been Homestead, because it has been the only thing that has provided any resemblance of repeatable content that is actually fun. Yeah, I agree. For people that actually want to have that kind of features in there, it's amazing. But I don't engage with homesteads at all because I'm not someone that is actually interested in housing at all. You know, I'm not saying it's bad. It's good that they introduced it. I'm just saying I'm not interested in it because that's not my type of gameplay. It's like a nothing feature in that sense. I don't engage with anything. So for me, the replayability of Janthir Wilds is like non-existent. I'm not joking. You know, I'm not joking. This is like 1 week after each patch, even after the original release of Janthir Wilds, I was already doing only old content like Fractals, like even Heart of Thorns meta events. You know, I was not doing the Janthir Wilds content. There was nothing replayable for me there. And that's sad. That's really sad. I have a 27 monitor. Yeah. I'm not a fan of housing, rarely go there, and mine is most basic you can get. Exactly. I never placed any. You know, I'm not a single. I didn't place a single decoration. Not a single one. It's actually insane. But it's okay, you know, I'm not sad about that because this is a feature for other types of players, which is completely okay to me. It's just like I would love to have other replayable content in the map as well. I get it now with the legendaries to some extent, but that's about it. You know, that's the only thing that keeps me grinding the new map. Really. Leeching Homestead Gaming? Exactly. Yeah, but they hide that under an expansion with other content. Yes, the game is technically still pay to play. Wait, pay to win is, but this is just makes it seem less. I wouldn't say Guild Wars 2 is pay to win, but I would say it's pay to play to. Or it's like Silhouette Gaming, another content creator on YouTube, made a really nice argument from this Janthir Wilds so to feel more like a battle pass. You know, it's like you get the maps for paying a bit and getting the features. And I think that's how it is. It's not pay to win in that sense, I would say, because you don't get stronger really. It's just you get a different kind of playstyle and you get the spear, which is power grabbed at the beginning, but now it's not anymore. It's like the spears are really good at the beginning, but now it's like you can easily replace every single spear and you can have a meta build for the most part in all game modes. It's really like, it's not that important. So I would say it's not pay to win. Yeah, it's pay for convenience. That's correct. That's how I would really, this is how you need to put it. You pay for the convenience of getting new stuff that is helping you or solves issues that they already introduced in an earlier expansion. That's how it is, I guess. Yeah. The only thing that can be considered repeatable are the raids and convergences, which I find extremely unfun. I think the only one I found remotely interesting was Decima in Wing 8. Yeah, I personally think the problem is that they heavily relied on reusing those assets. You know, the 3 titans they use in the open world, in the meta event. They use in the story, they use in the convergence, and they use in the raid. And the problem is, they even reuse the mechanics and the design for the most part. And that's a problem because most of them are actually not that interesting. So they reuse the not interesting mechanics all the time and it feels really boring. The only one that is somewhat new and interesting and unique is Decima. But even there, I would say it's not the absolute best design they ever did, in my opinion. You know, so I would say in general, the replayable content that we got with Soto is actually more fun to play. The convergence and stuff, or at least the strike missions and stuff, are more replayable and somewhat more intriguing than content that is reused 5 times. Yeah, in my opinion. Dual pistol data. Do you think it's safe to main it for instance PvE? Yes. Yes, you can easily main it. It's really good. It is way better in strike missions than it is in fractals. But it is still decently good there, especially in CMs. Don't worry, you can play it for sure. In fractals, I would say you lack a little bit of cleave. That's the problem. So, and the burst damage is not that high. But you can still play it there, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it's not the spec where I would say it's carrying your group. Yeah. Yeah, it's a fair point, Winslow. It's a fair point. I can understand that for sure. I love Kriya personally, or normal mod at least. It's just a squad, no mechanics, not breathing check. Yeah, I think it's not like those are bad designed bosses. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying personally they having way cooler bosses in the past, and I feel like if you reuse the assets all the time, then it's okay if the mechanics of the fights are fun to play. Yeah, some of the times they actually are not, and then it feels like reusing it 3 times, 4 times feels like really a big pain. That's what I'm saying here. Yeah, you could use the staff. Yeah, I would use staff instead of pistol, but then it's a completely different playstyle, I would say. Typically, I would use staff Daredevil rather, but I guess better using a staff on Deadeye as well than using pistol and fractals. Remember when everyone used Spear on Willbender when it was so broken? I love to kill them on a core elementalist with staff. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, at the beginning of the release of Janthir Wilds and stuff, the Spear they're absolutely broken, you know, and then they slowly nerfed it down, and now they're in a healthy spot. It's just another weapon. And now the selling point of Janthir Wilds is like almost lost. You know, it's like you really only purchase it to have all the expansions. That's why you would purchase it, and for homesteading if you really want to go into that. So, yeah. Convergence Decimant is the weirdest decision to me because the mechanics just being the same on a 50-person fight feels unusual. Just a random chance of whether or not it hits people who know what the arrows actually do. Exactly. It feels like sometimes you just, especially if it's a normal mode and in the public version of the squad or of the, what's it called, convergence version, then it's actually like, sometimes you get lucky and the people know what they are doing, but sometimes they don't know what they are doing, and then it just feels horrible. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's a weird design decision. Yeah, definitely. But I mean, they wanted. I think it's at least a unique boss. I even in the convergence. So I'm happy with that one personally. I think Kriya works better in convergence, but that's mostly because I find it funny playing Celestial Swords and rushing hoods of dead people. I think Kriya personally, it might be a hot take, but I think Kriya in the convergence, especially in the challenge mode, is horrible. I really hate that one. It's so annoying to play because the problem is that it's spamming AoE corrupt bullshit all the time. And if you don't have crazy good supports and stuff and positioning there, it feels it's just a very annoying fight. In normal mode, I don't mind it, but in challenge mode, it feels like if you're going for the time and stuff, it's so bad. It's really, really bad. I think it's deserving the name challenge mode in terms of how annoying it is. Yeah. I think the problem is, even if you have the piercing on a pistol on a Deadeye, for example, it still doesn't make you great at cleaving, because the enemies have to align. You know, they have to align in terms of in a linear straight line, and that's only sometimes the case. So you can't make that all the time, and then it's like you're not the best cleaver, even with the piercing on the pistol. Yeah, I have a guide about the Deadeye as well, about the Unload Deadeye, so you can check that out on my YouTube channel. But in general, I would say Staff Daredevil is better for fractals than the Deadeye. But of course, if you don't want to swap the Elite spec, you can also play Staff Deadeye. Just have to change your gear, I guess, or the traits like you mentioned here in chat. My squad figured out that one person could tank rear for the whole squad, so we had one Celestial Scourge tanking him with everyone else on his butt. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I hope that people figure that out faster in other squads as well, because that's then way easier. Because if you all stand on one spot, you get corrupted all the time and it feels really, really bad. It feels horrible. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we are done with the strike missions. Oh, thanks for the follow-ups, by the way. Really appreciate it. I think Thief is in a weird spot in general in PvE. It's like a spec that can be played quite easily in all roles, but the thing is, it's a little bit like Spectre is the only one that is actually really unique or really good in what it does, because Daredevil and Deadeye, it's like typically other DPS classes are actually better if you're not going for absolutely try-hard run. So it feels weird. Thief is like, if you enjoy Thief, you are in a weird spot. I think the next balance patch will not change that too much. Spectre is the go-to, I guess, for the most part. Lex Spectre is amazing. I think Spectre is, for me, the most played Thief spec by far, in my opinion. I play it very, very often, just because I think it's fun to play, it's really strong, it provides a lot of value. It doesn't matter if you play full heal, elect DPS, or just DPS, it's amazing in that sense. Can't wait for balance patch to play it as a healer. Now it feels a bit weird. I mean, the interesting part is it's still quite good, I would say. I played it as a healer, and I think it's actually, especially with the blast finish on your 2 skill and scepter, it's really, really good. I just think it's not as broken as do other healers, for example, heal Chronomancer is. That's the difference there. Condi Virtuoso is really good. So if you look at Condi Virtuoso, it is a build that is really, really good, but it is low, comparatively low DPS if you compare it to the other meta builds, but it has crazy amounts of sustain in it. So that means, and just nice ranged and utility and everything in this kit. I have a guide about it on my YouTube channel where I talk about the advantages and how you use it and stuff. And then, in my opinion, it's like, if you don't need these advantages of just being very flexible, being ranged and stuff, then you go for another build, like Power Virtuoso, for example. But if you want to go for a very safe, like a progression run where you go for a really hard boss, then Condi Virtuoso is amazing. Yeah, so keep that in mind. It's always about the situation that you use the build in. Yeah. Spectre is basically Necro. Yeah, that's good comparison. It's like, it feels like a little bit of a core Necromancer with some thievy stuff and mobility in there. Yes, it feels like that, yeah. Yeah, it will be more interesting after the balance patch with the alacrity and the general thing, for sure. I agree. What can we do? I guess we can go for some new map again a bit. No, no one's there. If I want to find a static, would it be okay with playing Power Bone Chrono, Condi Power Elect Tempest, and Condi Elect Scourge? Yeah, of course. I mean, that's a really good thing. You would cover a lot of situations there. I would say Condi Elect Scourge is for the safe fights. Power Bone Chrono is for the usual easy fights and where you need some flexibility in there. And the Power Condi Elect Tempest is whenever you want to play Elementalist, I guess. It's actually, yeah, go for it. It's really fun. Honestly, I miss the old Spectre where you apply Alacrity through Wells. Yeah, but the thing is, they never wanted to reintroduce stuff like that because they wanted to decouple the boon providing from utility skills, and they succeeded with most classes. And I think that's a good thing, because the problem is if you have to use specific utility skills, that means that you are not flexible anymore. And that's other classes, for example, like some classes like Chronomancer that had it with Shatter and stuff, and Illusions were already using it way better than other classes that didn't have that treatment yet. So that's the problem there, Roaming Spirit. Is Power Word slower in terms of rotation or Condi? So both of them are actually quite fast-paced, but I will release a low-intensity Condi Virtuoso build guide, I think, in a few days. I think 3 days or something. So be sure to watch out for that one on my YouTube channel, because then the fast-pacedness is gone and it's still dealing quite a lot of damage. I think, personally, Condi Virtuoso is probably the safer pick to play if you don't want to have the highest APM, because you can also play it with low intensity and you will be fine. Yeah. I mean, Condi Virtuoso typically hits around 39k average if you have perfect gear and the rotation, and it's actually not too hard to achieve, but it's a little bit button mashy, a little bit. So the low intensity version goes to 35k or something. So you lose a little bit of DPS, but not pressing too many buttons. Yeah. Old Chrono Wells, yeah, I mean, that was interesting. Old Chrono Wells, but the interesting part is the Wells are such good utilities that you use it in a Chrono build anyway. So that's the cool part. But I agree, back then it was like the old Chrono Wells gave alacrity as well. And the quickness was never on the Wells. So that's the case there. But yeah, I get what you're saying for sure. Yeah. I mean, with the next changes, I think you can actually, if you want to, I personally think you could make a Condi Virtuoso work that it needs a different gear set. You know, the new relic, how is it called? I always forget the name. The new relic, how is it called? Mistburn one. Yeah, this one. This one gives you might, and it gives you 10% more crit chance. So I personally think this one might actually be worth it to run on a Condi Virtuoso, because you can proc it permanently. And then you might have easier gearing time. It might not be the most optimal choice, but it's a very easy choice to actually do. So maybe that's a way to go there and make the gearing easier. Maybe, yeah. I don't do... With Condi, I follow only the concept, don't do opener. Yeah, that's a problem. I think the opener, especially on power builds, but also on Condi builds, the opener is the most important part. I always mention that when I talk about rotations and stuff. The opener is such an important part of your rotation, especially in shorter fights like in fractals and stuff, because only then you get the high amount of damage. Only then. As soon as you lose, so to say, your opener, do it wrong, incorrectly, whatever, you lose crazy amounts of DPS, even on a Condi build. So really try to learn the opener, that's the important part. Even if you don't want to learn the full rotation, the opener is the important part. Probably not best recommendation, but in World vs. World you can buy exotic sets with selectable stats if you have some currency. Yeah, I mean, that's actually, I think that's a good recommendation for new players, because it's a place to start gearing your character. Yeah, definitely. What about movement speed, because it doesn't have Signet? I mean, movement speed is not that important in PvE. That's the thing. I think you don't need it. Yeah, the balance patch is really good for most classes. That's the interesting part. The new balance patch is like buffing like everyone except maybe a handful of changes, like 5 changes or something are nerfs, but all the others are buffs. I made a video about it, talking about the power creep that they introduced with that one. I think it's actually insane how much power creep there is now in the game. Not all people agree with me, but I think that's an objectively true position to make, I would say. Yes, I made a video for the balance patch already. Yeah, you can check it out on my YouTube channel. It's actually a quite nice balance patch. I think probably the best one in the last year or so. So there's some nice stuff in there. Will unload thief chains? No, not at all. It will be completely the same. You can just scroll down on Twitch. In the description there is actually the YouTube link. So there is no command for that, I think, but there's the description and you can just press on the panel there. I think the new patch will be like the biggest content for me. I think it's like I don't play that much of the new map right now anymore and stuff. So I will be way more interested to try out new builds and test out changes that come up with the balance patch. I think there are crazy amounts of changes, especially for example Necromancer, Elementalist, they have crazy amounts of changes that will alter the gameplay. So I will have a lot of builds for that. Even the heal alacrity vindicator will be really interesting to see. I wonder how long the Bloodstone Quick Cutter will be stick around before getting nerfed. I mean, that's just such a funny build. I think it's so sad that they will nerf it probably because they always nerf Elementalist if it's too high performant. But personally, I think it's such a fun concept. I hope they don't nerf it too much so that you can still play it. That would be my hope there. 42k on quick DPS from what I've seen. That sounds good. That's power creep in a nutshell, you know? If the quick DPS does more damage than your normal DPS. Yep. Personally, I rarely play Elementalist because it's piano for the most part. Yep, that's true. I mean, there's a low intensity Tempest that I actually have on my YouTube channel. And this is not piano, but people still believe, of course, and that's correct to some extent, especially Catalyst is quite piano, yeah. Yeah, I think going for a build that has crazy high DPS but is harder to play, I think then that's somewhat of a fair change. But I think the Bloodstone thing should not be absolutely insane. I think 42k is too much for a quick DPS. I think we would all agree with that probably, because that's just, if you compare to a, let's say 40 to 45k DPS, then that's just like, okay, why do you even play normal DPS if you could just run quickness at this point? Yeah. What is an easy class to master? I would say Reaper is quite nice. Reaper is a quite nice class to start out with, and it's actually not that hard to master. Tempest is also quite nice, I agree. Tempest is quite nice. It's definitely the most straightforward elite spec for Elementalist, that much is for sure. Might not be for everyone because it has the overloads, but you don't even have to use them for a lot of times, yeah. Cutter is strong, but now you gotta keep an eye on the relic stacks, which kind of makes it harder to pull off at the highest potential. I think it's nice to make this build work. I think that's really cool. I just think it's too high of DPS. They should nerf it down maybe to, I don't know, 39k or something. That is a little bit higher DPS than the normal Cutter version. But it's also harder to play. I think that would maybe around, I mean, the problem is I think the normal Cutter version is already too high. That's the problem, in my opinion. But okay. Condi Reaper is fun. Yes, it is. Following a power Soul Beast Berserker, but I feel like a glass cannon most of times. Do you think that Valkyrie could help? I wouldn't go for Valkyrie. I would typically go for Marauder or Demolisher. Those two stats are giving you more value for the stats that you use than Valkyrie. I wouldn't go for Valkyrie. Valkyrie is a core stat that is not really good anymore. So just exchange some Berserker pieces or change them for... Typically I would go for Marauder. That's the best choice, I guess. Or Demolisher, yeah. Yeah, exactly. You hit 39k if you, or 38.5 or something like that if you're using the normal Cutter. But I think that should be lower, personally. That's already too high. And then if the Bloodstone thing is like 1k more or something, I think that would be fair, personally, yeah. What is the class you would recommend for learning how to play proper healer? Either Scourge, because it's quite straightforward, it's not too hard to play, or you go for Chronomancer because it's absolutely broken and you will not have any difficulty playing the healer itself because it's so broken. So those two would be my choices. The only thing that I would recommend is not going for Firebrand. That's the important part. Firebrand is by far the hardest one to learn. So please don't do that, but go for Chronomancer if you want to have the absolutely broken one. A little bit harder maybe. Or you go for Scourge, which is balanced, quite good after balance patch especially, and not hard at all. That's my take. Yeah. I would not go for Firebrand in my opinion. Firebrand is hard in that sense to learn as a healer because you have so many different things to learn at the same time as learning the healer itself. Druid, on the other hand, I think Druid can be easy. I would say it depends a bit on the situation because I don't like to recommend Druid because in Fractal, Druids is not that good. Druid is a little bit, I would not recommend playing Druid in Fractals as a healer. But in raids and strike missions, Druid is also not that hard to learn. It's hard to master, but it's not that hard to learn, yes. So it depends a bit on, obviously, what kind of playstyle, what kind of class fantasy, and also what kind of content you do, yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's actually, it needs a little bit, it has some ramp up time with the relic. Good point there. Yeah, true. It's not perfect, the cutter with the Bloodstone relic. Yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem. Always glad to help. I would say Chronomancer, I made this last time not last time, but at some point on stream I showcased that you can actually play Chronomancer with just pressing your rival skills off cooldown and you will achieve like 80% of the efficiency of a normal healer. Just pressing the rival skills. And this means that you can actually play the Chronomancer very easily. You know, just pressing the buttons of cooldown of your weapon, that's not something hard. So I personally think Chronomancer is actually overrated. You don't even have to use the continuum split. That's the interesting part. Firebrand is definitely not something that is actually recommended for a new player, I would say. Is Virtuoso good, easy class? Yes, I think Virtuoso is easy to learn. It might not be like the absolutely easiest class to play, but in general, I think Virtuoso makes Mesmer a little bit more easy to play. I think Mirage and Chronomancer are way harder to learn, way harder. Yeah. Yes, Firebrand is not easy to master and not easy to get into. It's a class that is really like, it has a lot of buttons to press that you can press, but you have to press a lot of them as well, and you have to position correctly, and that's not something that you actually want to have. That much is for sure. Yeah, I mean, Condi Druid is like, you can play Condi Druid, but it's not something that I would recommend all the time to new players. It's not something that crazy, yeah. So what do we do here? I guess let's go for this one. Oh my god, it will be pain. So, what do I mean? Let me showcase this in a second. So, if you play Chronomancer and want to have the easy version of Chronomancer, you can just press these 4 skills of cooldown and shatter and don't use the continuous split, and you will be having all the healing, all the boons that you need. It's actually insane. It's really, really good. You don't need to press your utility skills or continuum shift or weapon swap. It's actually really, really good. Keep that in mind. Yeah, Scourge is actually, I would say, very easy to get into. I think Scourge is probably the easiest healer to get into. Yeah, and I also have a Celestial Scourge healer on the build. So, yeah, I would say Scourge and Chronomancer I would recommend to new players as a healer. Yeah. Celestial Scourge is really fun, but you need to know what you're doing. It's not the easiest healer. It does nice DPS, 20k almost, and that's really cool, but it's not for everyone. You have to understand how to heal and when to use it, for sure. What's the best Catalyst build currently? It depends on the game mode, but in PvE I would say it's Quickness DPS Catalyst with Bloodstone. Bloodstone Relic, it's really good. Is Boon Chrono good for beginner? Boon Chrono, I would say, the problem with Boon Chronomancer is it's only good if you know the rotation, and that's the important part, if you know when to swap your utility skills. As soon as you can't use the correct utility skills because you don't know which fight you to play and stuff, then it's a little bit harder, more challenging. That's gonna be an interesting one. That's gonna be very interesting. So enjoy the chaotic fractal run with this group, apparently. I love Mesmer conceptually, but struggle to get into it because of low survivability, and it's hard to play Chronomancer and Mirage well. Yeah. Depends a bit. I would say it depends on the build and the gear you choose. If you play a heal Chronomancer, I think you don't feel that much of a sustain issue. But if you play, for example, something that is very offensive, like a Power Mirage or something, then yes, you of course feel the squishiness for sure. Yeah, I can see that. What's heal stats on Chronomancer? It's like Harrier or Minstrel or Giver. Those three you can choose. Yeah. Yes, exactly. You start and mashing buttons on your heal Chronomancer and you slowly increase. You can see I'm playing it a little bit more, you know, with how to play it. I know how to play it. So typically then it's a little bit stronger, but you can just mash the buttons on the rival and you will be fine for the most part and slowly increase the difficulty. So yes. And you also have a crazy good flexibility in trades and utilities and stuff. So it's really, really good in that regard. Elec Willbender is quite easy to play. Yes, I have a low intensity Elec Willbender on my channel where you just press auto attack and the F2 skill, and that's about it. So be sure to check that one out if you want to have a low intensity healer. It's not the absolutely broken healer, but it's very easy to play. Very, very easy. So you should check that one out if you want to go for Alacrity healer. I'm using either Scepter Shield, Scepter Focus, Dagger Shield, Dagger Focus, something like that. Because the important part here is that you know when to use your Dagger, because in this Fractal, I might need to do some DPS. So that's why I need the Dagger. But if you want to play the absolute safe version, the Scepter is the really crazy one. Scepter Shield is really, really tanky. If you go for Focus in the offhand, you have a nice pull, which can be really good at Fractals. And for example, on Slotherthor in the Raid Wing too. So yeah, depends a bit on the build. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I'm trying my stuff on Guild Wars 2 content creation, so welcome, welcome. So let's go get this going here, booning up the people. Very nice. No pain, no gain here. Very good. Yeah, I think you, for the most part, for a lot of fights, you can actually just stick to rival for the most fights. You don't even need to swap to the other set. That's the good part. So let's get this going and see how this party is doing. I mean, this Fractal is just boring. I think this group is actually okay. DPS is not the highest, but it's okay. I just like to play healer. I'm just here, especially in Fractals, because it's like the most important role. If people can't do it, it's like almost an insta-fail already if you are pugging. So I like to fill those roles and make sure that people are actually surviving, even if they fail mechanics for the most part. Yeah, rival is mandatory. You can't play a heal Chronomancer out without the rival. It's like impossible. I'm from Germany. So sorry for my slightly off pronunciation, but I try my best. And if you have any feedback, please let me know as well, of course. Yeah, if you don't use the rival on the heal Chronomancer, you really miss out. It's like you make the build like 50% worse. It's really like it's necessary to actually play this build. So this is the part where I told you that I need the dagger to actually kill those aspects here. Only then I will be able to deal enough damage in the short amount of time that I have until the boss here actually explodes us. You have Chrono builds? Yes, I have Chronomancer build on my channel. Yes, I do. I have like almost all the builds on my channel, and the cool part is you can even, if you want to, you can type !builds in the YouTube chat, in the Twitch chat rather, and then you will see a spreadsheet with all my builds that I have. I have to come back fast. My party is dying. There we go. Yeah, so just check out there, and there should also be like all the builds that I have, and not only that, but also if they are up to date and what kind of builds you should use in which game mode and stuff. So there should be something for everyone and every class. Because I have a lot of content on my YouTube channel, so be sure to check that one out. And if you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer them as well, so let me know. Personally, I mostly play Firebrand Willbender healers because it's changing all the time. Yeah, I mean, you should play what you enjoy. That's the important part. I would never recommend Mesmer to someone that really hates Mesmer. There are so many options to play Guild Wars 2 right now in terms of classes and stuff, so you should just play the thing that you actually enjoy the most. I'm really not joking here. Guild Wars 2 has so many options in terms of build crafting, so just play the thing that you enjoy the most. There will be a build for you that works well. No problem, always glad to help. I can recommend you checking a quick guide, just apply for any group. I mean, I think if you go into new Fractal, new Raid and stuff, I would always watch a guide about it first, and then you can join a group, because I feel like a lot of the times it's really obvious if someone misses a mechanic and stuff, so please try to be honest about it and never lie. If someone wants to experience people, then don't join those groups. That is just objectively better for everyone. But yeah. I think Guild Wars 2 PvE content for the most part is not too hard. You can just easily get into and learn it very fast, or even do it on the first try. That's just how it's designed. Oops. I would say if you want to get into raiding, I would highly recommend to go for a Discord server, like Raid Training Academy and that kind of stuff. Those Discord servers are amazing. You can just find people that are like-minded and help you train a raid. But of course, you can also join my Discord server. I do some raid trainings there as well if I find enough people that want to join. So there are always people in the community that actually help you getting into raids. It's more like Fractal CMs is a little bit harder actually to get into, I would say, actually, in my experience. But if you have any specific questions, please let me know. Yeah, our worst person just died. That's the usual in the end, that they die at some point. The problem is many people don't check any guides before they jump and don't even ask for tips, and they proceed to the floor. I mean, the problem that I see a lot of times is like people are not being honest, you know? If you're not honest about that you are not really experienced in this thing, then this is even worse than if you would say I did not never kill this boss or something. So it's really, really important that you are honest about it and try to inform yourself how to do it beforehand. That's enough, I would say, to kill most stuff in the Guild Wars 2 PvE scenario. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to find groups because most people are either on EU, so they are now like, let's say it's 12 o'clock at, let's say, EU time, something like that, or they are like 6 to 9 hours shifted when they are on NA. You know, if you are 9 hours shifted in the morning, then it's actually way harder to find groups. That's just in the case, because then the western part is either asleep or working. You know, that's the problem. Yeah, I can feel you. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly, 12 o'clock. It's actually 11 o'clock. Yeah, I was wondering, in London it's not the same time zone as I am. Yes. Interesting. That's good. Oh, we have someone falling into the hole of shame. Let's go. Oh, I forgot the CC. Oh, the wound strip. It's fine. We have a Scourge. You know, where is the Scourge not? I guess we shouldn't have broken the CC bar here. I think we don't have enough damage. We just have one good DPS player. That's about it. And we don't have Boon Strip. That's also not good. It's okay. Yeah, London is not that far from Germany, that's true, but they have a different time zone. That's just how it goes. Actually, we made it. We have enough DPS. That's good. Okay, this is in particular, this Fractal is the reason why I play Heal Chronomancer, or in general healer, because I feel like if I don't play the healer here in the water phase, I have like a 50% chance that my healer is not able to heal me. I don't know why people are really bad at healing in Fractals, but it's just the experience that I get when I play Fractals, and I have a lot of experience in Fractals, so it's not my mistake, I would say. It's just my healers are like really struggling. That's why I want to fill that role, and I'm just, better safe than sorry in that regard. Nice, we got the CC. I mean, you don't have to understand or use the time zones correctly, because if you're just staying in Germany, you have the same time zone all the time. But I can see why time zones are a weird thing, for sure. Today I have a really spicy video coming up on my YouTube channel. I'm really excited to see your opinion on that one. Today I have a clickbaity title, like we already noticed earlier. And this is like, let's say, a title that is somewhat like makes sense, and this is the same for my YouTube video, and it's going the same direction. It's like I want to talk about what we can draw out of the conclusions of this patch and stuff, and oh boy, I'm expecting some big debates in the comments, and also not the best so to say people's opinions there, and how can I say, the best mindsets and stuff. So keep an eye out for that one if you like drama in YouTube comments. Getting the Boon Strip. Please, Boon Strip. Should have gone for my Boon Strip utility. Never trust a Scourge to Boon Strip. Never. Oh, come on. Are you trolling? I think they are trolling. I had like 1 HP. How did I have 1 HP with the Mistlog up? What? I survived with 1 HP. Okay, I guess that's okay. Skill, Yeah, I guess I do the strips now, but then I don't have that much stability, It's like if I do everything and the Scotch does nothing, then it's bad. Come on. What the fuck? What's going on? Longer downtime than the actual Fractal? Let's go. Nice, we got the CC. I think this time we also have the Boon Strip, because I take it. I don't even know how a Scourge can't Boon Strip, because, you use the skill anyway, the Scepter 3 skill, so why can't you Boon Strip? It's like, what? It's in your rotation on a 9-second cooldown or something, so how can you not Boon Strip all the time? It's fine. I take care of it. That's my job as a support, I guess. Taking care of every single mechanic. Classical fractal run. I mean, if it's pistol only, it's like insane, you know. The DPS is like really bad, I have to admit. Maybe it's pistol only, but why would you build a pistol only and not scepter only, you know? Scepter only has more DPS than pistol only, so I really don't get it. So, I mean, I guess I let the Scourge die. I need a little bit more time until my Moa is off cooldown. Ooh, that was. Look at the CC bar. You know, I'm alone. You know, I'm the only guy that is CCing. It's not even fun. At least we have 2 good DPS players, but that's like, what is going on? Classical fractal experience, you know, what can I say? Chaotic to the limit. That's why I play healer, you know. No other class can fill every role at once. That's just it. How can you not boonstream all the time? It's the same as it feels like most people don't have CC, especially when doing metas. Yeah, I mean, that's the same, you know. Why they are like, on my bar here, and like half of my skills do CC. How can you not do any CC? It's like they are perfectly avoiding CC. That's actually insane. Yeah, pistol gives more life force. That might be true, but I mean, come on. Come on. It's not like too hard to play Scepter. It's even a core weapon. What can I say? Why are you playing Condi Scourge and don't even know how to use Scepter? It's like, it's really easy to build, you know. But okay, what can I say? We did it. That's the only thing that matters. Yeah, but the interesting part is a lot of skills actually do CC even though they are DPS increases as well. But people are just not aware, or I don't use them, or just use the auto attack. I don't know. Really, at this point, I just don't expect anything, you know. Pugging fractals, you know, it's like every time I do it on stream, there is something new, interesting happening. You know, it's like, ooh, there's always some chaotic scenario that I didn't see before. It's like, ooh, this is always interesting. Always interesting. But, you know, that's where we're here for. We're here for the content, not for anything else. Only the content. Do we get a portal? Yes. I never use Scepter Necro. I hate the animation. Yeah, if they attacks. I mean, to be honest, if you play PvE and you are only playing PvE for animations and stuff, then you should not go in fractals, CMs. Fractal CMs are like, if you don't know what your build is perfectly optimized and doing, then come on, then don't go into CMs. It's like challenge modes are for people that really know want to play it most optimally. You don't play challenge mode just for for the giggles. I really don't think so. Yeah, if you know that you can boon rip with your utilities, then I'm fine, you know. But I'm just saying Scepter is in the usual meta build, so why would you not use that if you are going for the most tryhard version of the fractal, you know? It's like, for me, some kind of conundrum. Do we get another portal? Yes. I do fractals when I need emergency gold mostly. I mean, fair take. I just do them when I have time because I like them, you know. I like to do them. I don't even need the gold, you know. It's good that I get the gold, but I just do them for the content and for fun. Yeah. Just look at average DPS on metas. 50% of people do 5k. Yeah, that's the interesting part, you know. There are builds that like do 25 to 30k with just auto attacking. How can they do 5k with pressing other buttons than the auto attack as well? It's like insane. They have to run soldier gear or something. It's like, I don't want to be toxic, but it feels like for me it's a challenge to do 5k DPS, you know. Even when I play full healer, I would probably do more DPS than 5k on some healers. It's like, what is going on? I guess that's just the difference, the experience difference that will get bigger with the power creep that I mentioned in the last video that I uploaded, where I talk about power creep and people say, no, power creep is good to help me clear the content. And I say, no, power creep helps you clear the content that is normally, so to say, needs some skill. And now you don't need the skill anymore. And as soon as you get to one-shot mechanics, where you need to understand the mechanics, you still have the same problem that you need to learn how to play the game and not rely on your broken builds. But I guess that's just how people think all the time. I'm not toxic here, I'm just stating the facts. Yeah. You think the Condi chrono from Snowcross is good? Yes, it's really good. But keep that in mind, it has specific use cases. In Fractals, for example, you would not use a Condi chronomancer, because only in the CMs, in the two that we did just now. Because in power ones, you have too low of a ramp up time. Keep that in mind. It's always like Condi fight. It needs, so to say, range, DPS and stuff, then it's better to play Conti. But I would not generally play it all the time. Yeah, Fractals just take the right amount of time. That's why I play them almost every day, because it's fun. You know, it's perfect in terms of how long you can do it. Yeah, so... When you are a noob with no sigils, relics, and other stuff in exotic gear, you will get around 5 to 8k on Golem. Yeah, but that's the interesting part. You get 5 to 8k, and you can't expect that everyone is like running around with that amount of gear. You know, that's not like how the game is like. There are people that play for 10k hours and still do 5k DPS. You know, that's the insane part to me. How did this happen? How can people play for 10k hours and don't know anything about the game? You know, it's like absolutely insane to me. Nice, we did it without GGing. I like it. I like it. Yeah, probably the will to improve is missing, yeah. People just play to get the loot and that's it. They don't want to get better at the game, even though it's getting better just means getting the correct gear, because it's like you don't have to grind hard to get exotic gear and it's the correct exotic gear. If you have full exotic gear on a, let's say a full Berserker Reaper, for example, and just spam auto attack, you will deal like over 25k. I'm not joking. So it's like, in my opinion, absolutely insane if you not even go for the best gear possible, because that means like 2 hours of work. You know what? After 10k hours, you not even want to improve your gear by like 100 times by doing 2 hours of gold grind. That's actually insane. I guess that's just how people think differently, I guess. Welcome, Intense. Welcome, welcome. So let's go. Let's do it. It's actually nice DPS from our 2 DPS players. I'm happy about that one, I have to be honest. We can skip most of the mechanics in this fight already. That's a good sign. That's what we want to see. It reminds me of some World vs. World players I have seen in the last few months. World vs. World God, but they are Fallobst. Yeah. I mean, that's okay, you know. It's not like I don't expect anything from people that play World vs. World and have the highest title, because that can be easily grinded, you know. But yeah, if you play in open world and don't have any DPS, that means you just don't care about upgrading your gear at all. It's like, what? It's crazy. But I know that's just everyone plays the game differently. I don't want to be toxic or anything. That's how it goes. Everyone can play the game how they want to play it. That's fair. I'm just saying I can't understand this opinion. I'm always want to be improving at the game, not only in gear wise, but if I play PvP and stuff, I want to get better at the class that I'm playing. I want to understand why I died, how I can be better at it. That's my mindset always. And I never flame people in PvP and stuff, and even in PvE, I never type anything toxic in chat, because I always think, okay, how could I have played that? That's something that is really helpful to me, because that makes my experience better, and I probably would also say their experience as well. If everyone would think like that, I think that would be a better way of looking at the game, in my opinion. Sadly, that's not true for everybody, as you can see in most scenarios in PvP, World vs. World, whatever. It's about mindset, exactly. It's always about the mindset. I need Gift of Battle since forever, but I had World versus World. Yeah, I mean, that's obviously, it's always bound to do that. I mean, if you wait for the, how is it called, missed rush events and stuff, then you get the stuff very, very fast. So maybe then it's actually a good time to get into it, because then you can do it in like 4 hours or something. So maybe that's bearable to you then, but I can feel you. If you don't want to play World versus World, it feels not that great. Yeah, of course, with all the buffs and stuff, it actually is way easier to get into World versus World as well, and getting the correct, so to say, gear helps as well, and farming camps all the time is just the fastest way to get it without really engaging with all the classical World versus World stuff. But if it's not for you, it's not for you. That's just how it goes, I guess. Yeah, Chronomancer is quite good. You can see it here. I mean, we negated every single mechanic that was thrown at us in this fight. It's like, okay. Spear as an aquatic weapon is the same as a DPS weapon? Yes, it is. It's the same. That's why you need to have multiple legendaries and gear equipment. So you have the underwater one here and you have the normal one here. So that means that you have to have 2 of them if you want to go for all of them. Yes. I have played Final Fantasy XIV online, yes, but I'm not nearly as close to tryharding or to knowing a lot about the game as in Guild Wars 2. So I can't give you like a crazy amount of guides to that one. I'm just learning it a little bit. What's the ascended version of Aquatic Spear? Where do I get the recipe? Where can you get the recipe? I think you can buy it from crafting vendors. But you just need the normal version for that one. So you can just get it from the Wizard's Vault box, for example, as well. From the Ascended Gearbox there. Just get the spear version there and you will get it. Yeah. Harpoon is different, yes. Harpoon gun is different, and Trident is also different. No pain, no gain, no? Very good. Nice, we did the CC, very good. So we have 3 underwater weapons, which is Harpoon Gun, Trident and Spear. But the Spear uses exactly the same recipe as you would use, for example, in your Land Spear. So, but I would never recommend crafting Ascended weapons nowadays. You know, you can get Ascended weapons very, very easily by just playing the game, doing Wizard's Vault, for example, or going for strike missions, raids, fractals. You can get the Ascended gear there very easily. So I would never craft it, because crafting it is actually not that cheap. But of course, as a last resort, you can actually still do it, of course. Just want to mention it here for a new player. It's not always the best option just to craft it. Very nice. Now I have to swap to focus. Let me out of combat. It's weekend, so I stream on the weekend. I want to cover a different time zone. Sorry. So that's why I stream so early. Under the weekdays, I normally stream in the evening. Yes, that's correct. Pull them a bit more. Come on, guys. Do you have VODs of your past streams? Yes. I have every single VOD is saved on the live section on my YouTube channel. You can watch it on Twitch as well, but on Twitch it's saved for 7 days or something like that. For YouTube, you actually have all my previous release streams, all of them, every single one, under the live section. So if you go to my YouTube channel, there is a live section, live part, and there is every single previous stream there. Yes. Yeah, it's true. I mean, if I would cover all the time zones, I would have to start very early. But the problem is I can't do that all the time. It's like it's really hard for me to cover all time zones. So I want to play with the American friends as well, and they are obviously sleeping if I start very early in the morning. Guild Wars 2 would be awesome if they had deep dungeons from Final Fantasy. I think that's something that could come out with the Guild Wars 3, with the next game that they push out. I think in Guild Wars 2 that's sadly not gonna happen. I would be so happy if we got some kind of procedurally generated content that would let me go in as a solo player or as a 5-person group and would have scaling rewards, scaling difficulty, and I could grind it indefinitely and have some new layout every time. It would be amazing. I would love that, for sure. Yeah. Welcome, Frozen. Welcome, welcome. I mean, Final Fantasy, personally, I think there are arguments for playing it. I personally like to play Guild Wars 2 right now. Maybe in the future, if Guild Wars 2 will at some point lose its interest to all players, then I might swap and do a different game. Yeah. I came from Final Fantasy. I mean, so let's go for booning up here. Started Guild Wars 2 in November. Yeah, I mean, then you have some, let's say, some experience in Guild Wars, but there is still a lot to explore, I guess, then. No, I crashed. Let me set it up again. So mean. No. Everything crashed. So bad. It happens to me quite often right now that I just randomly crash. I think Guild Wars 2 is really sad. Sorry, we'll be back in a minute. Give me a second. Exposed, exactly, my desktop. There is nothing on there that is actually exposing, I hope. There we go, I'm back. It happens actually in the since the patch. I had 3 DCs, and it's not because of the, how is it called, Arc DPS, because the Arc DPS I actually uninstalled at the beginning. I still had the DCs. It's actually crazy. At least we are back now. Sad that my party had to wipe because of that, but okay, happens. Yeah, I agree. Blizzard is not something that is very stable. That's the problem that I have with Blizzard. It's really struggling to keep my PC. Sometimes it's not starting correctly. Sometimes it's not working all the time. Sometimes it keeps me crashing. It's really annoying. I agree. Blizzard is not the best software in that regard, but it's such a quality of life improvement. That's why I always use it. You know, just for the mouse cursor, actually, that's the most important part. Of course, I could use YOLO mouse or something like that. But I never used the in-game Guild Wars 2 feature because that's horrible. It's not centered around the mouse. It's like shifted to some part, and that's just bad. So, do you think I should start with Mirage or Virtuoso? I would start with Virtuoso. Virtuoso is easier to play and is less punishing. What about Scepter Torch for Chrono instead of Focus? The problem with Scepter Torch for Chronomancer is that it's like absolutely just selfish. There is no support in there, and that's never something that you want to have. You always want to have some support on Chronomancer, because Chronomancer, I would not play Chronomancer as a full DPS. You play it either as offensive support or defensive support, and in both cases you want to have some support in your weapon, and that's just not the case with your Offhand Torch. Offhand Torch is like absolutely selfish DPS. That's it. That works in a Condi offensive Chronomancer build, but that's about it. In every other Chronomancer build, I would rather go with Shield and Scepter on a healer, or Focus as a healer. Yeah. For an offensive Condi Chronomancer, yes. For power Chronomancer, don't go Torch at all. That's my assessment here. Yeah, you have to run it with admin at all. Yeah, I agree. I mean, maybe it's just my PC, maybe my setup. I don't want to, you know, make it look bad or something. Blish is amazing. I'm happy that I have it. Gives some really cool features. Arc DPS and Blish really make Guild Wars 2 looking way better and way more interesting to me as a somewhat efficient player. So definitely go get it and maybe even watch my guide about it, you know? But yeah. I mean, Guild Wars 2 is a game where you play how you want it to play. So don't worry if you don't know what you're doing right now. You can watch some guides. One can also have fun without knowing what to do. It's like, just enjoy the ride. Guild Wars 2 is a game that you can play very slowly, very fast. It doesn't matter. It can always be fun. So play it like you want. And if you want to get more experience in something, just find people that are willing to teach it to you. It's really like, there's a lot of ways to play Guild Wars 2. It's really, I want to mention that every time I talk about that, I see that Guild Wars 2 doesn't get amazing updates anymore. There is so much to do in Guild Wars 2 and you can play it the way you want it to play. So that means that there is always something new to explore if you're a new player. That's really, I want to emphasize and stress that, because it's really important that you understand that Guild Wars 2 might not receive the biggest updates anymore, but the old game modes, the old stuff that is already there is amazing and you can still have a lot of fun. So I can see the endless potential of Guild Wars 2. It's kind of sad to see the current lack of investment from ANET. Yeah, that's the problem, you know. And that's why I started creating content for the game, because I really like to help people getting into the game, see how really cool the game is, how really fun it is to play. And, you know, that's my take here and why I started playing it. But then if you look at the... Am I doing it? I'm doing it. Oh, don't target the shaman. So if you place the portal here, you can actually skip a little bit of the boulder, fiery boulder thingy here. There we go. So I would say for a new player, it's sad to see that the game is not getting that many crazy good updates or big amount of updates anymore, because that means that the veteran base is leaving the game, even though you have so much new stuff to see and to explore. So I really hope that they either announce that they are currently doing something in the background that is either helping players to stay in the game in Guild Wars 2 because they see, okay, I still like to play the game, I want to get the achievements and whatever. Or that they say, no, we commit now our full resources back to Guild Wars 2. You know, but I don't see the second case happening, sadly. I really think they are fully committed to their thing in the background. I really think so. But what can you do? What can you do? As a relatively new player, I wouldn't mind Guild Wars 3 if it's happening to be ported Guild Wars 2, although I can't see that veterans won't be excited. I really don't care, you know. I would be happy about getting anything new that is, so to say, worth investing my time in. If it's like a relaunch of Guild Wars 2, if it's a completely new game, I don't care. You know, anything that would allow me to have more fun and get new content, more content. That would be amazing, because that's just something that I don't see right now in Guild Wars 2 is the investment of the developers, that I can really see, okay, they are standing behind the game, they want to flourish, they want it to flourish. That's just not, sadly, the case in Guild Wars 2, at least for me. And it has to be fast with the announcement of, as Ion 2 will release 2026, and as I heard, they copy lots of stuff from Guild Wars 2. Really? That's insane. I thought it would release in the West in 2025 in the end of 2025. At least that's what I heard. But I guess I'm not sure. Obviously, I'm not a professional Ion 2 researcher in that sense, so I don't know. But I think it's really important that they announce or release Guild Wars, so to say, future of Guild Wars 2. They should release that very, very soon. I think the player base now is quite hard. In the harder, let's say the more long-term veterans are really not seeing why they should continue playing Guild Wars 2 if all the patches, all the expansions are not looking good anymore, you know? And they should really bring up some, closure or tell us what is actually happening in the background, because that's the honest thing to do. Even though if the marketing might not be agreeing with that one because they lose potential final money on the Guild Wars 2 money, how's it called, microtransactions, that could be the case, but I feel like people quitting the game is also bad. So if they would announce it, that they are working in the background, I think that might keep people from actually spending money, but maybe even it's also bad to keep people losing without announcing it just because the content is bad. I see both sides personally. But yeah, I don't know. I'm tired of Guild Wars 2, it's just a done game. Yeah, maybe. I hope not, because I really enjoy the game, but maybe you're right, could be. I would stay at Guild Wars 2 if there would be more improvement. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if I would, for example, if I get the announcement now that in 3 years we get Guild Wars 3 and until then we don't get any big update in Guild Wars 2, just some events, some maintenance updates and patches, but nothing like insane amount of content, I would be happy. I would play the game for 3 more years. You know, that's how I like Guild Wars 2. But I don't want to have like the, so to say, unknownness in the background that I'm pretty sure that they're not working on Guild Wars 2 at the moment. But at the same time, I also don't see any results where they are working on. So there is some kind of, I'm not sure about what's actually happening. Yeah. That's why I see the problem, yeah. And it's definitely working on something, but I'm not sure if it's Guild Wars 3, knowing NCSoft. They might be making some mobile game. Yeah, it could be. I mean, I would be so sad if that would be the case. But I mean, it could be. And that's just the sad truth here. It could be, absolutely. I really hope it's some kind of Guild Wars 3 or some kind of big update to Guild Wars 2, maybe. But I really can't prove anything at this point. It's just how it goes. Guarding Infusion is for hardcore vanilla players who literally don't have anything else to do in the game. Yeah, exactly. Maybe some update there, some wardrobe update to infusions. 100% it's Guild Wars 3. I mean, the opinions there differ. You know, some people say it's not Guild Wars 3 for sure. Some people say it will never come out. Some people say it's 100% Guild Wars 3. I mean, who knows, you know? This vacation has been for ages. I'm 99% sure they are not working on Guild Wars 3. Yeah, I really don't know. We have no official announcement. That's the only thing that can clear the confusion there. That's the truth. No, I can definitely, you know, I can definitely follow your intents for sure. Don't worry. I can see what you're saying. Forgive me, but I will evacuate you earlier. Yeah, sure. See you later. Get well soon. It's definitely hard for any. If Guild Wars 3 is a new game, it has a mountain of content to compete with. Exactly. Starting a new game, like a new MMO, you have to compete against Guild Wars 2, WoW, Final Fantasy, Old School RuneScape. You know, they're crazy amount of content-rich MMOs. So how can you compete that? You only can compete with that if you have crazy amounts of well-done content at the start and some longevity with it. And that's really hard to do. Only then the MMO will succeed. If it's an ARPG, if it's an RPG, I think that might be an easier way to do it. But maybe then it's not an MMO in any way, and then some people would be sad about it as well. I think there are multiple options, and not all of them are actually healthy for the people. That's the problem. I think there are always people sad about it. You can't make everyone happy. That's just the truth here. The easiest world versus world, but it's really hard. I would play probably Celestial Harbinger. The League properly. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the League. You know, the League it's really like no info in there. I think the League is like nothing telling. You know, it doesn't tell us anything new. Yeah. I think the League is like, there is so much rumor around the League and people believe so much shit about it. I think you should not believe most of it. The only thing that can confirm that Guild Wars 3 is in development is ArenaNet itself. There is no leak that will actually tell me, yeah. I don't think MMOs are over if they make a generally good game like Heart of Thorns, Path of Fire. People will play it. Yeah, I agree, but the problem is you need to have a good game with a good amount of content at the start, and that's something that is actually quite hard to achieve. How can you compete with a game that is out for 20 years already? How can you have enough content to satisfy players that play stuff that's like 20-year-old? You know, that's the problem. I would say even if the game is good, but you are done with it after 2 weeks, then people will quit the game again. So you have to make content for a long while as well, and that's quite hard to do. That's why I said procedurally generated content might be the solution there. Some AI stuff that helps you to actually just have the perfect amount of content put out in a very short amount of time. Maybe, you know, I'm not a professional there, but could be. Very good, we did it. Yeah, I saw the big event, but there was nothing about Guild Wars 2 or Guild Wars 3 in there. It was just some kind of very short trailer. That's it. It's nothing new there. But at least we get the 100% experience buff over the weekend. So if you haven't noticed already, we have the plus 100% experience buff from the Summerfest. So yeah, be sure to check that out. Really good. Yeah, there was Guild Wars 2, but it's obviously not as big. You know, there was a trailer that was not, let's say, they released this part or the trailer already, so why would you actually care too much about it? For the most part, for a new player, it's interesting, but it's not a new trailer in that sense. So, and no new information on that as far as I know, at least. Guild Wars 2 is still the game as it is before yesterday's, let's say, trailer. Problem is the developers try to break the system that works in order to pick up the users that are struggling to keep up, thinking they will make more money if they catch these players up at the expense of the players who want a fair progression system. Yeah, that's obviously it's really hard to find a perfect way to catch everyone, and that's an issue that all games have, but it's an issue that especially MMOs have. So how can you fix this? I don't know. You know, it's to be perfectly honest, it's not my thing to fix. You know, the developers have to fix that because they want to actually get money from their game, so they have to fix that stuff. But I can totally see where you're coming from, for sure. Hard to make procedural stuff without it feeling repetitive. Humans are very good at identifying patterns. I agree, but I do practice, for example, every single day. So, or almost, yeah. So I like to do this. So why not make content that is slightly altered every single time I do it and make it infinite repeatable in that sense? I would replay it, and I think a lot of people like to do it. Just look at Diablo and Final Fantasy's Infinite Dungeons and delving in WoW, or look at Path of Exile, mapping. All of that stuff is actually somewhat procedurally generated and has people playing it forever, even though it's not really that crazy new content, you know. So I think there is potential there. There is big potential there. Holy shit, so many rings. Yeah, but that's just my take, you know. That might not be the only one that actually works or the only thing that is reasonable, but I think that's something that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, you can't catch everyone, exactly. It's impossible. You will always lose people, especially if you do some kind of new unique thing. It's always that. Yeah. I mean, I hope to fix Guild Wars 3, you know. I would hope that it's a good game, you know. That's just, I'm always someone that wants to have people succeed at it, you know, at creating something new. So if I can make it work, if by creating content that is positive about it, sure, let's go for it. Yeah. I have 4K shards. I don't think I will spend those anytime soon. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of shards as well, you know. I have on my, I have like 5k shards almost, and I have like 10k tomes lying around. So yeah, what would I do with it? I don't know. You can convert it into gold if you want to, but yeah. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right that the developers are not the right, so to say, the right age group anymore to actually make a good game. I don't know, but I feel like if you want to have experienced people, it's hard to find people that are like 20 and have already like released a AAA game. So it's. I think I can see why you're saying that people that are older having a different perspective on games and can't make new games that are like for the Sumer generation. I can see this argument, but at the same time you need to have some experience to make a crazy good game, and people with 20 don't have the experience typically. That's just the truth. Yeah, that would be interesting if they would make a port for Guild Wars 2. Could be, yeah, could be. Yeah, you need a lot of shards. I have the title. Where is it? The Facet of Prison and Boundless Light. This is the title with all the Oreen assets, facets rather. And those are actually like, they need a lot of spirit shards. So keep grinding, I guess. Yeah, MMO is the hardest part for sure. I think it's not easy in general to launch a game, but MMOs are really hard, yeah. I don't think it's about age, it's about devs playing their own game. I agree. I think you can have a 60-year-old dev that is actually playing an MMO and actually knows what they are doing and how to make good content. And that can be way better than a player that plays only Fortnite, or developer that only plays Fortnite and develops an MMO. You know, that's completely different. I can totally see that argument. So I'm with you there for sure. MMOs are not so popular anymore. Younger people don't really play this type of games. It's mostly us who grew up with the genre playing it. Yeah, that's sad to some extent. But yeah, on the other hand, it's also like you can still make content for people that play like us. You know, why would you not make a game for people that are a little bit older? You know, not like 15 anymore. You know, you can still make games for them because, to be honest, I think they are more likely to pay and spend more money on it because they are in an age where you can spend the money. If you're 20, it's actually way harder to get the money for a subscription of 10 euros per month than if you have a, let's say, 40-year-old person that can spend the money because they have a very nice career going already. So I think there are arguments in all directions. I just want to mention that here, yeah. Yeah, in the last decade, there hasn't been any good MMO. I think that's a sad thing to actually agree on because I really would like to see it. But the problem is people really lost their hope in MMOs because even if there is a promising MMO coming, the problem is that it doesn't have enough content to support the player base and they will quit after a while. And most of the MMOs nowadays are like free to play completely, but have pay to win aspects in them, you know, or have some kind of really nasty things going in there with microtransactions, so that it's really hard to keep the people interested for a long while without spending too much money that they don't want to spend it in the first place. It's really hard. It's really hard. MMO is like a genre that you don't really have a lot of people interested in. Yeah. Yeah. Because they want to copy another MMO but make it cheaper and monetize it harder and don't understand that then it doesn't make as much. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The old school ones who released pre-pay-to-win aspects are most played ones. Exactly. You know, that's what people underestimate is that Guild Wars 2 has a growing player base, as well as, for example, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, and old school RuneScape. Those 4 MMOs have a growing player base, even though they are over a decade old. Maybe it's because they are over a decade old that people go back to those MMOs. I'm not joking. I think that might be the actual truth here. That's the insane part. What? Why can't I use it? There are too many... What? Too many of this... What? What? I can't use it? Okay. They released few Asian ones that flopped because of on the heavy monetization, and they are looking for quick buck rather than longevity. Exactly. Yeah, that's the truth, and that's the sad part that people, or the publishers and the people behind the MMOs that not developing it, that are sponsoring it, they want to get money out of it. The quick money is by getting in-game microtransactions, getting people to pay for the original game and then leaving after a few weeks because they will pay for the next one that comes after a year later again. That's the quick money to be made. And that's sad because that doesn't mean we get good content for a long while in the same game. That's just how they don't do it. I hope that Guild Wars 3, ArenaNet, they will do a different route and will because of that succeed, because it's a different route that is not lucrative in general. But if everyone is looking for something like that, then it might be still lucrative. I hope that's my big hope there. Maybe I'm naive, but that's my hope. Yeah. But what can you say? You know, it's like we are just the players. We can't decide how the game looks like. We can play it, we can have fun with it, we can give our opinion on it, but we can't really change how it's actually looking. We cannot. Yeah. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think we will see Guild Wars 3 in the next 5 years at least. And I think that's okay if they get the hype going. If they announce it, if they can get some hype going, that people are actually interested in playing the game, and make it so that there's, for example, if it's a really fleshed out new game, maybe make it so that Guild Wars 2 has some achievements that you can unlock, like the Hall of Monuments ones. That would be very interesting, yeah. To just get some hype going, you know. The hype that we had with Heart of Thorns is amazing. Thanks for all the follows, and thanks a lot, Sam, for the Prime. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate the support. So I personally think getting hype up for a new game, even if it's just a few years out, giving us maybe some kind of very early access alpha, yeah, stuff like that. That would be amazing, showing us footage. That's how you hype up the game. Look at Heart of Thorns. When they released one Elite spec preview over the course of every week, every month or something, that was amazing. People were so hyped about the game. I think that would be amazing, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how many people are playing the game and they only are there for the drops right now. So I really hope that you are, you know, long-term viewers in the future as well. But of course, drops are the things why people play Guild Wars 2 or watch it on Twitch. That's just how it goes, yeah. But to be fair, Guild Wars 2 instant content grow out of its box like dungeons, dragon missions, strikes, raids, fractals. More structure would be nice. Yeah, definitely. I think they should align all of those in one feature, and then you have more people getting into it, because it's like, how do you do it? How do you start out and explain a new player what all those type of different missions are? It's really hard. It's getting out of hand way too quickly to explain that. So I can definitely see that, and it's something that they will not fix in Guild Wars 2 anymore. They have to fix it in a new game or new relaunch of Guild Wars 2, for sure. I still hate that they moved away from dungeons. Used to have such a great time back in the day. I agree, dungeons were amazing. You can still play them, and I made a video about it. You can actually make crazy amounts of gold per hour. Like 70 gold per hour is reachable if you do dungeons correctly. It's insane. I really did it already. And dungeons are still very good, but it's like completely outdated. It's absolutely insane. So yeah, it's outdated in every single aspect except the rewards. But I feel you. Dungeons is great content for sure. I mean, dungeons is not for everyone. I can totally see that, you know. But the problem is that you have a lot of content, like especially the newer fractals feel like strike missions for 5 people, you know. Having content that every single, like raids, strike missions, even the fractals nowadays feel like strike missions, that means that you just have content for one type of player. Having fractals, having raids, having maybe dungeons as well, those 3, in my opinion, should be somewhat interesting to players, because they are different in a way, yeah. So you should have 5-person and 10-person content, maybe solo content as well, and then you have covered 3 different avenues, and then you would be somewhat interested. Even if you don't like one of those, you can go to the other one. That's how I would do it, yeah. Imagine if Guild Wars 2 didn't have a wiki, nothing would get done in the game. Yeah, the wiki is like, it's like carrying in the background. The wiki is so good, people wouldn't get any legendaries done, you know. Only efficiency and the wiki carry you through the legendaries. It's insane, I agree. But, you know, I think that's a big given, that the new game that they will release will have the wiki to some extent as well. The wiki is like so important. It's so important. The problem is there is way too much content that is still relevant, and you have many alternatives, so people choose most convenient methods, and some content is kind of dead like dungeons? Yeah, exactly. Guild Wars 2 is a horizontal game so that you have all the content is still viable to some extent, and you will always choose the content that has either the best amount of gold as a reward that you get or is the easiest to actually play. Sadly, most people wouldn't go for the most fun content because that's not important to them if the rewards are shit. So that means that you can see that people are not going back and farming some kind of open world maps in ore anymore, even though it might be fun. They not farm it, they farm the most efficient, rewarding one that is currently, I don't know, Dragonfall, something like that. They will go to this one. And this is the problem with horizontal progression, that the old stuff is either not run because people are just doing the most efficient one, or it's just outdated in terms of mechanics and people don't go back to it because it's not fun. And power creep on top of that is also not helping. That you now can one-shot every single boss in dungeons, it's also not feeling that great as well. It is a different playstyle for sure, but if it's a good playstyle, I don't know about that one. Because the scaling means leveling is merely access to higher level content. Yeah, exactly. The power remains low enough for the gameplay and killing mobs to remain a real element of open world. I agree with that, but I personally also think a problem that we see here is that a lot of times the downscaling and stuff in Guild Wars 2 is not perfect anymore. You have a lot of power creep as well, and generally the older maps, at least the very old maps, don't feel that great to play again. You know, if I go as a level 80 character to Queensdale, I one-shot almost everything, even the veterans and stuff. So yeah, I think it's not perfectly optimized for that senses in either case. That would be the case with a lot of content if they didn't tie some kind of collections or legend to it. Yeah, exactly. The legendaries return to achievements, events and stuff like that. They have stuff to make it work to go back to the old stuff. But if they wouldn't do it, it would be like people wouldn't engage with it at all. Yeah. And there is a lot of power creep. There is a lot of power creep. Just look at the power creep of Chronomancer and the other healers. It's insane how much boons, how much healing, how much CC, how much utility they bring in one kit. It's insane. And people that don't accept that or don't see it, then they are completely blind in my opinion. The power creep, the feature creep that we got with the last few expansions, with the last few patches, balance patches, is insane. It's absolutely insane. And I think this is a good thing for newer players to get into, but for most players that want to have some kind of learning curve, it is not a good thing because it trivializes old content that you will not play anymore then, or you don't like it anymore. And it's just feeling like you putting yourself into a niche with the new content that needs to be either absolutely hard, like one-shotting mechanics, or completely trivial. And that's not good to have two different. There should be a slow, interesting content curve and not only having either really easy ones or really hard ones. That's at least my opinion on that. But what can you do? One thing I have changed with how I play MMOs is that actually playing for fun. Exactly. You know, I play for fun. Of course, I can say that because I have full legendary and stuff, but I play for fun. I like to play the game and have fun and play different characters, different builds, different content. That's how I play the game. But of course, I can see why everyone is different there, and some people don't only play for fun. They also want to grind and chase the carrot. Yeah, that's fair. Just saying you should have fun. That's the first important thing that you should get out of a game. I think adding more content to make old content obsolete is not a good solution. I think you should make content that is somewhat intertwined with each other so that you also have old maps actually being run and interesting and stuff. That would be the ideal thing. Yeah. New players can't get into it because the power creep is gate capped behind the expansion. New players are stuck on core build. If they want to make it easier for new players, they should have buffed core builds. I mean, they will never do that, to be honest. I think they should do it, just from a balance perspective, but they will never do it. They always want to keep you buying the expansions, and they can only really guarantee that if the core specs are worse than the elite specs. That's just the truth here. Sadly, I would really like to see a core build being meta in PvE, but that's just very unlikely. There are some core builds that are actually decent, but they are always worse, I would say, even in the try-hard groups for most people. Yeah. The LFG is very outdated, good point as well. And they should redo it, but I feel like they don't have the resources for that because like 80% of the developers are working on Guild Wars 3 right now. So, or something in the background at least. So yeah, It's clearly visible, yeah, in my opinion. Please behave in chat, please. We don't want to have a toxic chat. That's not helping the game, not helping my channel here. Please behave. One problem Guild Wars 2 has due to having more content is that certain maps cannot be progressed since the player base is diluted in maps over several expansions, like Dragon's Den, for example. Yeah, that's a problem as well, that if you need a lot of players to actually succeed in an event, and you need that for, let's say, 10 different maps at the same time, then it's actually quite hard to find the players that actually do that then anymore. I can see that. That's a big problem, and I think they have to fix that. If Guild Wars 2 ever goes into maintenance mode, then they need to fix those, and you should be able to solo those bosses and make it, even the power creep might help there, or make it easier to do, because otherwise the maps are undoable for most players. You need to go into a guild and find people to do it with, and that's not a good thing. If you join an open world map, want to do it, and then you wait for 2 days to actually get the map that actually does it, that's horrible, yeah. I don't think it's an easy fix, I agree, yeah. And there are a lot of meta events that doesn't help as well, because a lot of meta events means that a lot of them are going at the same time, and that means that at the same time you have problems to find people on map A, map B, and map C. And if you would funnel them into one map, then you would actually have more people playing, sure. Yeah, the auto LFG would be amazing, but I think to make this possible, it's really hard. Not only in terms of how the UI would look like, but also how you would implement it with the boon stuff in Guild Wars 2. So how can you make a boon healing supporter that gives quickness in the same category that gives alacrity healing? Because they fill the same role, just with a different boon. I think that's quite hard to move. And then the experience level is also quite hard to balance. It's really challenging, I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's fair if you don't want to progress reset. I think that I can totally understand that. Double dodging, I like it. Dodge. I mean, I should Windows. Concentrate here a bit, and then we can continue talking about the topic. It's a Power Reaper with a spear. Nice, there we go. Yeah, the new convergences are actually really, you need to find a decent group for it to get the CMs going, and even then it's not that easy for most people, because it's like a 50-person thing, and there can always be some not that mediocre players, let's say. Yeah, I don't know, it's actually quite hard. If they want to update the game, update this one. The meta should change to a random calendar system where every hour a random meta activates the meta. I mean, that only works if you have some random activations like that, or people would follow that if the rewards are good enough. You know, if the rewards are really good because of this system, yes, people would do it. But if the rewards are shit, like for the Path of Fire metas, for example, no one will do them even if they are cool or not bugged. People will not do them. You know, that's the problem. Is it a fact that you said about 80% of ANET? No, it's not a fact, but it's like, it's proven to some extent by the new releases. You know, the new releases prove that they have currently 400 employees, and the new releases feel like the map and stuff in 3 months. Putting that out with almost 400 employees doesn't really seem like a realistic thing. You know, everyone that looks at the new map, and especially the Mistborn Barrens map, for example, and the patch that we got there, everyone that played this would agree that not 400 people worked on that for 3 months. That's just not possible. And they told us they have an unannounced project in the background. That much we know. We just don't know what it is and how many people are working on it. Yeah. The Wizard's Vault gear, you can select, it doesn't roll, you can select the stats. So if I buy the Ascended gear from the Wizard's Vault, you can select which kind of gear stat you want to get out of that one. You know, this is still selectable. The number of players that run around with gear that makes no sense is insane. These people don't learn the connection with the gear and sustainability. Yeah, that's true, but it's also the game's fault because it doesn't teach them. That's I try to teach people on my YouTube channel, help them getting into the game and stuff, but the game itself doesn't really teach you to get better at the game, and the power creep doesn't help with that, because if you can clear the content, even if you don't have perfect gear, because the power creep is getting higher, it doesn't help people getting incentivized to actually invest time to learning a new build, learning how to gear themselves up correctly, that kind of stuff. It's actually, the game itself has issues with that. The split between the hardcore community and this casual community that doesn't really engage in getting better at the game is getting bigger because of power creep, because of new expansion releases and that kind of stuff. It's not a good system. I agree. Yeah, I think the game itself, don't get me wrong, I want to put that out here, Wolf, as well, that I personally think the game itself is amazing. If you're a new player, start the game right now. You have immense amount of content. The combat is fun. There's so much to explore. It's so amazing in terms of what you can do. For example, just look at going for full legendary. That will take you years, typically. So there is a lot of stuff to explore, a lot of fun to be had. But for a veteran, I'm talking always from a veteran perspective. So keep that in mind and bear that with me and take that with a grain of salt. That's the important part here. That you don't take everything for you in the same way as I do here, because I'm a veteran that has done everything in the game already. You know, I have a different opinion than a lot of people that just play the game casually. So the game is still worth to get into to play. It's very fun in my opinion. Otherwise I wouldn't play it, I wouldn't create content for it, obviously. It's like NCSoft has decided the game is gonna die years ago and expected to, but it growed instead, and they can't understand why. I'm not sure what NCSoft actually wants and how they, let's say, interacting with ANET. I'm not sure about that one, but I feel like it's yeah, I think they get a lot of money from Guild Wars 2 still, even though they don't put out as much content as they did, for example, with the Living World Season 4, which we discussed before. So that one was free. Now we get Janthir Wilds for paying for €25 and dollar. So yeah, I think the game is definitely moving in a direction that is less content, but they still get enough money from it, so they finance it as long as they can until they put out the new content, the new unannounced project in the background. That's my idea. And they want money in the end. Exactly, they want money. Yeah, they are business. Yeah, they like pay-to-win mechanics, but Guild Wars 2 established a non-to-pay to win the game. Exactly. And I really hope that when the unannounced project ever will come out, that Inunat is developing in the background, I really hope that it will be no pay to win and only microtransaction or subscription fee based, or even pay to play. That would be the best, obviously. I don't think that will happen, but that is my opinion. That's how it should be. I really hope that will be the case. Yeah. I mean, legendaries are not an upgrade. That's the important part. Legendaries are pay to convenience if you get those, but you can get them in the game. There is no pay to win in the game in Guild Wars 2. You can swipe, but you will not get better than some player that played the game for 1k hours, and you can still beat them. You know, it's like Ascended gear is the highest one. You don't need to go for full Ascended or Legendary to beat someone else. That's the cool part. You can play the game in full Ascended gear and beat me with full Legendary very easily. Yeah, so keep that in mind. If NCSoft is behind Guild Wars 3, it will have pay-to-win elements 100%. Yeah, maybe. I can't give you information or any feedback on that. I don't know. I just hope it's not, you know. That's my hope. Yeah. No, the interesting part is pay-to-win means you get better by paying real money and get better than someone that actually plays the game. You can't do that in Guild Wars 2. You can't beat me just by swiping 10k euro or dollar. That's not possible. You will only get to the same level. So how do I care? I don't. You can swipe if you want to get to that point faster, but you will not beat me because of swiping 10k euro, you know. In the Chinese version of Guild Wars 2, you can actually get the plus 20 power infusion, and that's pay to win because that's something that actually makes you better at the game or gives you more stats, and then you're better. But in the Western version of Guild Wars 2, that's not the case. Yes. Guild Wars 2 is pay for convenience, and that's a good thing. You know, if I played the game for way too long, I have like a big bank, I have like insane amount of character slots and back slots and all that stuff just lying around passively because I like to pay for the convenience. Yeah, But if you don't like that, you don't have to do it, or you can even spend in-game gold for the transaction. That's the important part. If you could only get those convenience items with real money, then it would be, so to say, pay to convenience with a really big pay to win aspect as well. But you can actually get everything with gold. Only the expansions you really have to get in the real game with real money. So yeah, I think Guild Wars 2 is in a decent spot when it comes to monetization. Yeah, the only thing that is a little bit sad in the older things was that there was a lot of cool skins only in the gem store, but nowadays it's actually quite decent. There are cool skins coming out with the actual releases as well. So I think the monetization of Guild Wars 2 is something that is actually really, really good, in my opinion. Yeah. The only argument that could be made is that you can swipe for infusion, but that's so little impact deal. Yeah, might be, yeah. No, Ascended gear doesn't provide more value than Legendary gear does give you exactly the same stats as Ascended gear. If you don't know that, that's on you. It's exactly the same. It's like if I would equip a Celestial head armor piece with Ascended, I would have exactly the same stats. Exactly. There is no difference. That's the same for weapons. Exactly. Nothing changes. Exactly. Inventory wasn't paid to fashion. That's how Guild Wars 2 is played, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, they don't know what pay to win means. I agree. That's actually really weird. Yeah. Pay to convenience. That's what Guild Wars 2 is. Yeah. If it wasn't for the Blackline chest loot box thing, I would agree that Guild Wars 2 monetization is fair. Yeah, the loot box thing is weird. I agree. The loot box thing, you know, for if you want to get this skin, for example, right now, it's like you have to pay a lot of either real money or you spend a lot of gold to get this skin. I will get it eventually by the wardrobe unlockers. You know, I can buy it with the statuettes there, but I will need to wait 3 months or something like that. So, yeah, I agree. This is not the best thing, but if you would say everything else except the loot boxes, it's actually really good. Yeah. And it's still cosmetic. It's still a skin. You know, you don't have to get it. It's not giving you upgrades in any sense. It's just a skin. If you want to get that skin, sure, swipe for it. But if you don't care about the skin, no gameplay is changed because of that. Keep that in mind. Yeah, you pay them to be blinded with the particle effects, but you can deactivate them, so it's not like a real effect. But I would agree, it's the Blackline skins are very flashy, and that can obviously be, people want to get more skins that are very flashy, so I guess that's a good argument. But personally, I think with the standard animal models and stuff, it's not an issue at all, obviously, in competitive modes. Legendary is so fashion, and for me, the mad people like me that like do lots of builds and various characters. Exactly. Legendaries are really convenient if you do a lot of different characters, builds and stuff. And for fashion, it's good. But that's it. You know, it's not any better than Ascended gear. Do you have a goal doing solo world versus world, or just roaming for fun? I'm just roaming for fun. I'm just, you know, capturing some camps, getting some world versus world rank up. That's about it. Having some fun talking to you. That's the goal. I don't have a specific like farming strategy or anything. Just want to have some fun while I talk to you, obviously. Legendaries are the ultimate quality of life items in the game. For people like us who play a lot of builds, are godsend. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't play the game if I hadn't full legendary anymore. You know, this is like, I play on a typical day, I play 10 different builds. I'm not joking. So why would I not want to have legendary? You know, full legendary is like insane amount of value in convenience, in just fun, trying out different things. And going for full legendary relics and stuff, getting all of them unlocked is also some really nice feature that I really want to have all the time. Have my relics up to date and that stuff. It's really cool. I like that kind of system. Yeah. It's cringe seeing people running around in gear in game with their fashion fully paid for by RMT. Yeah, it's cringe, but I don't know. I don't engage with it, so you know, it's just let them do their stuff. If they want to do that, I don't care. I want to have fun. I want to grind my own gear. I want to just be happy about it as well, what I get. So that's my take there. Oh, Is it the same guy? No, it's a different one. Okay, we have another Reaper, but this time we are 1v2ing, so I think that should not be really... Did I get the heal interrupt? Yeah, easy. Okay. I will catch up in chat in a second, just want to get the kills here. Now we are 2v3ing, that's good, I guess. Okay, we got the first one. What kind of settings do you have for graphics and mouse keyboard setup? I can show you the graphics settings while I do this here. But I have a settings guide on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out as well. So if you are on YouTube already, you can just check that out. I have a guide about all my settings and how I have my keybinds bound. You find it there as well. How did you interrupt the heal? I interrupted it by transmuting the shocking aura. I'm actually quite surprised that I got this because the healing skill is actually on a rather nice. We got them. Now this guy is in the draw for the port storm. Easy. There we go. 2v3. Yeah, transmuting this gives AoE stun. Yeah. Technically buying stuff to progress faster even by crafting with materials from is pay to win, but if you play the game for longer than a week, you know, to max security rapidly. I think the thing is, what I would say is pay to win means that you get better at the game by purchasing stuff, and a normal player would never reach that in a reasonable amount of time. But getting to full ascended gear, if I would start a new account, I would do that in 2 weeks, getting full ascended gear. I'm not joking. So someone that pays like crazy amount of money, yes, they would get it faster than me, but I can reach it in a reasonable amount of time frame as well. And that's the best gear. And the cool part is I can even get on day one, I can get full exotic gear. If they would play full ascended or full legendary gear, I could easily beat them in a 1-on-1 in World vs. World with full exotic gear. You know, this is not even close. I can easily do that. Come on, pot on me. Okay, that's a little bit... I have to focus the dead eye here. Nice, get the dead eye. Just always focus the dead eye, just to make sure that they don't get any good cleave here. The Willbender will engage in 3, 2, 1. There we go. And now we get the burst. And we kill him. There we go. Easy. Oh my god, I got stripped. I believe that most of the disagreement regarding pay-to-win discussion is not about agreeing on what win is. Yeah, definitely. Big problem is to find people that agree with you what pay-to-win actually means. That's the main thing. Yeah, I agree. Exactly. You need to kill the Deadite so that you can't get free shot from range. So if the Willbender has to engage in melee anyway, so I will cleave them down. And that's why I won. Yeah. I feel like pay to win should only apply to competitive modes. If you're not winning anything, you're just getting it faster on PvE. Exactly. You know, getting your gear like 2 days faster or getting legendary gear on day 1 just because you swiped for $100. Yeah, sure. Go for it, you know, if that's what you want. But it's not like you are better because of that in the game. There's nothing. That's why I would say Guild Wars 2 is not pay to win. That's my point there. Yeah, like Harvey puts it, it's very low on the spectrum. Even if you have some kind of pay to win aspects in the game, it's very low on the spectrum. Yeah, I agree. Now we should treat all pay to win as pay to win because we don't want to move the over window further until it is. Yeah, I agree with that one, but I really hope that it is like maximum how Guild Wars 2 is, the pay-to-win aspect, or how the spectrum where Guild Wars 2 lies. I think that's where Guild Wars 3 or the upcoming unannounced project should be as well. If it's higher than that, then it might be debatable if it's a good game. Sure. Yeah, like we see here in chat, every MMO has some kind of, you can buy some kind of gold with it, and it's always pay to win then. That's just not how you can really make it the argument, in my opinion. Pay to win is something like, really, you have to spend money to get the best in slot gear. That's what pay to win means. Otherwise, you will not reach it in a reasonable amount of time. That's really not the case in Guild Wars 2, not at all, you know. And even in competitive modes, like especially PvP, we are talking about PvP without talking about the elephant in the room. That PvP you can play without spending a single dime and having the perfect gear, because the gear is equalized, you know? So keep that in mind. PvP is like completely out of the question here. Yeah, okay, I guess when WoW came out and you bought the sub and you didn't have, so to say, any other way to spend money on it, then it was not pay to win at all. I guess that's true. That's even lower on the scale than Guild Wars 2. But I would say, even though Guild Wars 2 doesn't have a sub fee, you don't have crazy amounts of pay to win in it. So typically, I think that's, even then, it's actually a decent amount, yeah, of low pay to win aspect, yeah. Would speed clear leaderboards, ranking, and maybe some cosmetic rewards be a solution to keep the hardcore players? The problem is, if they would do something like that, that would be interesting. I think that would keep players playing, but it would only keep a handful of hardcore players playing, because those that really go for those, you know, they are like players that want to play efficiently and want to get new content, and they will not get the new content, so they will quit anyway. So I would say yes, it will keep few players playing, but I think they are not really caring about the hardcore player base at this point anymore. They are just caring about the most casual players that spend money on mount skins. This is the big community that they are actually catering to at this point at all. They tried with raids, they saw it's not working, they will never do raids again. I really doubt they will do raids again. So I hope they will do something for the hardcore players in the future. I really hope so. I suspect it will be lead specs with the next expansion, so that we get more build crafting and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. We will see. If you want to spend a lot of money to get somewhere, an experienced player can get in an afternoon. It's not that big of a deal. Exactly. The only thing I think is pay to win in Guild Wars 2 is the contracts. The problem is those contracts that you're talking about, permanent bank access, like the infinite upgrade extract and that kind of stuff, they are paid to win to some extent because you can get them off the blackline chests. But the good part is you can easily, you know, get them from the TP and just purchase it there for gold. So you don't have to engage with the pay to win aspect. You can just say, okay, I'm not a lucky person. I will just buy it from someone else, you know? So I guess, yes, it's pay to win to some extent, but it's also pay to convenience. It doesn't really upgrade anything from your skill level. It's just the only thing that is better is your convenience. So yeah, that I guess you could make the argument, yeah. Yeah, I would agree that the Wing 8, that's the problem. That's a really good point by Sura here. The Wing 8 is like, it failed, or I would say it's made for hardcore players, because it's like, it's balanced around having crazy amounts of DPS, and you have LCMs in there as well. So it's really, they are really trying to make it for hardcore players, but at the same time, the normal mode is too boring for new players to get into, or even then it's too hard because of the DPS checks in there. So I personally think they should have made the Wing 8 the easiest raid wing. And the challenge mode has to be like the normal raid wings, and the LCM should be the crazy hard difficult one. Yeah, that should have been how they should have done it. They didn't do it, so now the raids, in my opinion, they failed to some extent. Yeah, because it's not really providing that much value anymore to anyone, actually. I don't see any player that actually is really catered to with the new raid thing, yeah. Sorry, I have to concentrate here for a second. Got him. Yeah, the problem is there is a lot of easy content in the open world, and there is decent amount of hardcore content with the LCMs and even the fractal CMs and stuff, but there is missing this kind of bridge between those two. And that's really why the power creep doesn't help, because the split and the content that we get is not really helping to get people from casual to hardcore. And that means that the game is split in 2 player bases, and you can't cater to both of them without letting the other one feeling completely negated. And that's a big problem. That's a big problem, yeah. Tier 4 fractals are mid-core, I agree, that might be true, but they are not releasing enough fractals or making enough updates to actually keep that updated, I feel like. They did back in the old days, they released 4 fractals in 2 years, you know. Now they release 1 fractal per year, and it's not even that good, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think the Wing 8 could be balanced with Emboldened, I guess. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, you can't see it as pay to win, but most people would disagree. Yeah, I would say it's pay to win is like always a little bit subjective, but I would actually say Guild Wars 2 is objectively not that bad in pay to win. I think you could disagree about what you define as pay to win, but Guild Wars 2, I think most people would agree, is not pay to win. That's the thing. I think Necromancer Spear is a little bit toxic. I agree with you. I'm not sure if it needs a nerf or if it just needs some kind of, the traits need to be a little bit adjusted so that the spear is not absolutely broken on a Harbinger or a Reaper. But I agree, the spear is actually quite toxic. The damage is actually insane, yeah. The 2 skill needs a damage nerf, I would agree, yeah. I mean, we try all to keep the community alive and be positive about it, but it gets harder and harder, you know. Look at the content creators that are still in the game, that still play the game. It's actually not that high amount of people anymore. Even the ones that still play on and off, which is okay, but it's really sad to see that a game that is so good as Guild Wars 2 loses the content creation scene. I'm really sad about that. Okay, on the topic of fractals, my lord, the new fractal in tier 1 is a joke. I ran it with a group of good players and it felt like an old normal T4 boss. T4 is even worse in the sponginess. Yeah, I mean, I think the new fractal, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that we got a new fractal, but I feel like it's not the best one that we got yet. There are way better ones, in my opinion. You know, I personally think it's better than the Silent Surf and Lonely Tower, personally, but it feels still not very good. I think it's a little bit too boring. It still has a lot of just unnecessary length packed into it without any real puzzle elements that make fractals interesting, anything to skip. It's just very linear. I think the fractal needs some help. I hope the normal mode is comparatively easy and the CM is also somewhat easy but has more mechanics in it, so that gets more interesting. It's really, really hard for me as a veteran to judge if people would like a more challenging but more fast-paced fractal, but this one feels like it's, again, a little bit slow-paced. I don't know. Yeah, I try my best, no Bleach. I try my best to stay tenacious, yeah. Yeah, I think the spear is like a Harbinger weapon. People typically run it on a Harbinger, but you can also, of course, run it on a Reaper. But I would say Harbinger with Blood Magic, that's how you typically play this, yeah. Yeah, Full Minstrel is annoying. This is like a really toxic build. Full Minstrel, Harbinger with Spear, running Death Magic and Blood Magic and just relying on the lifesteal. That's annoying, yes. They can't just put more contact, lol. It would be too much on some point. Like I have Wing 8, some CM Stellies. Yeah. I'm not sure what they put out with the next expansion. I'm not sure. I think they will continue pushing out fractals, and if we are lucky, we get a strike mission, but that's about it. I don't see a raid coming back. I think fractals are the only way that they are continue pushing new content for PvE instances. I really don't think anything else is actually quite likely. Yeah, if you run around with full tank gear, that's like, and as a roamer, that's very cringe. I agree. I don't like that. But that's obviously possible, and it's a meme build. To be completely fair, you can run that. Yeah. You made it, Chris? Very good. You made it. Good job. I don't know what, but you made it. Good job. I do not know why, but started with EOD. They started to HP spams. Yeah, I think that's a big problem with the power creep. They just didn't know how to balance the high DPS output so that the fights will still get decent amounts of gold per hour in their sense, not too high. So they had to make it HP sponsors. I think that's the real issue there, and I don't like it, but that's how they do it. Yeah, I guess avoid them. Yeah, that's how you do it. Run away. Yeah. Yeah. I think the problem is this alliance system is really not, it's really like hit or miss. Sometimes you have days where you have like no one playing around in your server at all. You just have like Zerg players killing you as a roamer, and sometimes you find no one to kill anyway. So it's like this alliance system really had positives and negatives, and the roaming is sometimes really bad in this new alliance system. I have to make this, I really have to say, yeah. Yeah, so I guess that's also the end of today's stream. Thanks a lot for the discussion. I had a lot of fun. Sorry, Chris. I'm really sorry that I have to leave now. But you can watch the VOD. That's it. But I really have to stop now. It's actually quite late already. Thanks for watching. It was really fun. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel. And yeah, see you around. Thanks for the follow. Thanks for the sub. And see you around. Have a nice weekend. Have a nice day. And take care. Take care.